Hey everyone, thanks so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
The death of Ace breaks more than just the world. It breaks fate itself. Thrown into the One Piece universe 10 years before canon, a grieving outsider meets a young Monkey D. Luffy and makes a single decision. This time, Ace will not die. As Luffy's journey begins far earlier than it should, the future slowly unravels, bringing Sabo back into the picture, exposing hidden truths like the mysterious A-Clan, and forcing the brothers to face a destiny that was never meant to change. With friendship, sacrifice, and defiance against fate at its core, this rewritten timeline becomes a battle not just against enemies, but against the future itself. Disclaimer: this story do not belong to me. The author is The Chronicle by ThiefofStealth. Respect to author.
Chapter 31 Updated. We've been floating on the sea for a few days, and it is absolutely boring. I forgot how this part of the blues is super calm and boring most of the time, but then again this is the only blue I ever know of, other than Calm Belt and Paradise. And even after, with the help of Kobe and Takao's combined navigational skills, reaching the nearest island that Takao spotted the day before is taking a pretty long time. And not only that, but Luffy managed to finish the last of our food rations last night, and I am not doing well with anger and empty stomach combinations. So after beating Luffy up and ordering him to get us some fish no matter how, nor do I care how, Kobe decided to break the ice. So Aris-san, what was your homeworld like? Kobe asks. I've always been curious about otherworlders. I don't know if you know, but we have a pretty famous children's storybook about the legend. I've seen and read it, but my homeworld isn't that medieval. I answer him with my finger on my chin. My homeworld is more of a modern technology and has more land mass than this world. We have more continents compared to yours, and sometimes one continent consists of more than 5 countries. Really? That sounds amazing. Kobe replies with sparkles in his eyes. Are there any Marines there? Or even pirates? We sure do, but unlike this world, the Marines are not consisting of one organization under one government, but divided based on which country that governs them. I explain, it's basically just like a certain country's soldiers, but Marines. And pirates exist too, but none of them are free-spirited pirates. Maybe they were a long time ago, but from the last time I'm in my homeworld, most of them are just criminals. I continue, still, many people romanticize pirates and their freedom-loving selves, so there are stories about them that there are plenty of infamous figures. Nobody really knows how true it is though, but we can dream. I see. So I suppose pirates aren't exactly that different in another world. Kobe comments in fascination. Yeet, but unlike this world, we don't have anyone with superpowers and devil fruits. In fact, I'm sure most of them are even far weaker compared to you, Kobe. I add with a grin, and Kobe seems surprised by that. Really? That doesn't seem believable, he says, and I shake my head. I'm serious. If you can survive from getting hit by Alvida's iron mace, no one in my homeworld will. They'll die in one hit, and if they survive, I'm sure they'll be veggies. I tell him as I turn to look at Luffy, who's definitely not listening to whatever conversation I have with Kobe. Luffy, you better not slack off, and I expect you to get at least one fish before we reach the island. Luffy flinches at that and he frantically starts to peer into the sea. I just shake my head seeing his antics before turning back to Kobe. So yeah, that's the most basic knowledge about my homeworld. Any more questions? I ask with a smile. Talking about my homeworld feels nostalgic. I kinda miss it, but brooding about it won't solve it. Thankfully, I can stop myself from actually getting homesick by making specialty foods of my country. It's a blessing that there are spices and ingredients that are similar too. No, I think I've had my fill already. It really is fascinating to actually meet the otherworlder we always heard from children's stories and rumors. Kobe answers with a shake of his head as he looks at his hands with a certain glint in his eyes. The world sure is fascinating. Do you think there are others like you, Aris-san? I don't know about that, but I only know one person and I've never met her. I tell him as I lean on the empty barrel and look at the sky. She was a member of the Pirate King's crew. Her name is Justicia Rain, if I'm not mistaken. She went missing after Roger's execution, and was never heard or seen since. Why, you mean, the infamous Queen Bee of Roger Pirates? I guess. I only know her name, not the epithet. I reply with a shrug. From my deduction, she's still alive in this world somewhere, and I plan on meeting her one day. She might not be from the same homeworld as mine, but at least I have someone else like me to talk to. Still, her epithet is Queen Bee. That sounds both hilarious and cool. I hope she's not an actual bee or something equivalent of one, but that would be cool though. Kobe didn't say any further about it, but he looks nervous until he shakes his head and seemingly thinks to himself. It's hilarious to watch him changing from panicking to being serious and vice versa in a second, so I leave him to it as I close my eyes and try to detect my surroundings. No sea kings around and just fishes nearing the bottom. The sea is calm and the wind is softly singing as they slowly take us to our destination. I hum along with the wind and chuckle when the wind playfully tickles my cheek before opening my eyes again and looking at the horizon. Land ho! I announce when I see a speck by the horizon and the others immediately turn their heads to see it. Yahoo! Finally, an island. Luffy cheers out excitedly. I wonder if they have a restaurant. I'm starving. We almost reached an island, and you still haven't got anything. I point out and he flinches before turning at me with a scowl and nervous sweats. Of course I haven't. You know that I can't swim. What are you, an idiot? He protests until I grab the front of his shirt with my fist ready to punch him and his protests get thrown out into the sea. I'm sorry. He screams out in fear. Don't tempt me, Luffy. You know full well what will happen if you mess with me and my food. I warned him with a smile that didn't reach my eyes as I stared into his soul. I understand, please forgive me. I huff as I let my grip go and let him sprawl on the boat as I stand up and turn to look at the incoming island. This is so slow. Can't the wind take us to the island faster? As if answering my thought, the wind suddenly picks up and the sea is pushing the boat faster. I grin in return while holding down my hat as Kobe and Luffy are holding onto the railing, Flame still sleeping away, and Takao flying along above us until the boat finally reaches the dock of the island. As Kobe ties up the boat by the dock, both Luffy and me hop on the dock and stretch out, letting the bones pop, and I let out a happy sigh for that. We've finally arrived at the marine base. Luffy exclaims out, "Finally, I can stretch my legs and back." I say as I hop on one foot to another, and I definitely need a bath. I feel and smell like shit. I say with a grimace when I get a whiff of my odor. Unlike Luffy, I'm not gross and I need my daily bath at least once a day. You're pretty great, Kobe. Luffy compliments the pink-haired, who just blinks at him dumbly. We actually reached our destination. He continues. Of course, basic navigation is very important for every seafarer. Kobe replies, if you wander around in the sea, you'll never survive. You should at least find a navigator to join you. He suggests. I guess you're right. I guess we need at least a musician and a navigator. Luffy agrees before he starts to wander off into the town. Why do you need a musician? Kobe asks in pure confusion. Because we're gonna need someone to play the music when we're partying, obviously. I tell him with a pat on his head as we follow the rubber team while both Takao and Flame stay behind by the boat. But yeah, we definitely need a navigator, and not just Takao. While Takao knows a bit because he's also a bird, we need an actual one because Luffy is not the most navigational person out there. I add, what about you, Oris-san? Kobe turns to me. Me. I echo back and scoff with a smirk, you don't need to ask me, Pinky. Because my navigating skill is exactly 360 degrees just like Luffy. I reply with a puff of my chest and a thumbs up. That's not something to be proud of. He scolds me. And we're gonna have Zoro as a nakama too, so either we're basically doomed or Takao is going to blow up one of these days. I say with a laugh, ignoring him as I start imagining the three of us getting lost because we don't know which way is east, west, south, and north, and then Takao just screeches and loses his mind over us. We walk around town as Kobe keeps on telling us that adding Zoro into our crew might now be a good idea, but Luffy doesn't seem to care about it. I haven't decided if he's a good person yet. Luffy replies nonchalantly. He's been arrested because he's a bad guy. Kobe yells at him and I roll my eyes before giving him a hit in the head. Why did you hit me? He whines. Don't insult Zoro. He might be scary, but he's not that bad of a guy. I tell him with a huff as Luffy grabs himself a guipir from the nearest vendor, you'll see it soon enough. I add as I throw a 100 berries at the seller. Why am I paying you up? I ask Luffy with a frown and half-lidded eyes as he turns to look at me. I don't have any money, so you pay for it. He replies simply before turning back to look at the marine base at the center of the island. I wonder if Zoro is inside the base. Luffy wonders out loud, which makes the townspeople around us jump away from us with terrified faces and Luffy just stares at the sight. It seems that Zoro's name is taboo here. Kobe whispers to Luffy, who just shrugs, and we continue our quest, while the townspeople go back to their activities like normal again. Anyways, let's head to the base. You wanna join the Marines, right? Luffy points out as we continue on walking. Yes, but my heart is not ready yet, Kobe replies with a nervous smile. I heard that Captain Morgan is in charge of that base. And when Morgan is mentioned, the townspeople jump away from us too, with more exaggerated reactions. Luffy laughs loudly while I just snort in amusement. What a funny town. Luffy comments while Kobe is visibly confused. That's strange. I can understand Zoro, but why would they be scared of the captain? Kobe asks with a concerned look. I roll my eyes at that. Isn't it because this, Morgan, is a bastard? It's kind of obvious from how the townspeople react when his name is mentioned. But that doesn't seem right. They shouldn't have been like that. Kobe mutters softly and I glance at his confused form. You're right, it doesn't seem right, but you'll know it soon. I assure him with a pat on his head, just take this experience to expand your view on this world. I added and Kobe just gave me a confused look, but didn't say anything in return until we finally arrived at the gate of the Marine base. It's a pretty enormous gate with Marine in curvy common letters and their symbol by the middle. Alright, this is it. What a dull place. Luffy and I say in unison as we try to find where Zoro is, until I manage to catch a whiff of him. I walk up to the wall and climb up to the top of the wall, ignoring Kobe's panicked whispers, telling me to come back down. Spotting the familiar mossy-haired swordsman with a broken white shirt, green haramaki, dark green pants, boots, and headband, and his trademark 3 earrings, I grin. There he is, the one and only Moss Head in the east, and he's pathetically tied up to a cross. What a dumbass. Zuru. I call out his name with a wave of my hands, grabbing his attention with that glare of his. To be honest, he looks and feels like he's about to die right then and there after not eating for almost a month. But still, his athletic and muscular figure is still visible, despite how starving he is. Who the hell are you? Go away, brat. He snaps and I pout at him. Okay, so he forgot about me. That hurts. A little. That's cold, Zoro. Don't tell me you forgot about that one kid with a blue bird that lived in Kuina's room for a bit and managed to kick your ass. I tell him and smirk as Zoro stares at me with a blink before widening in realization. Baris. Nyeheheheh, so you didn't forget after all. I grin as Luffy also climbs on the wall and clinging on next to me with Kobe following suit. So that's Zoro. Luffy asks me and I nod. Kobe lets out a yelp as he tries to cling onto us for dear life. Yep, the one and only Moss Head in the east. I say and snort when Zoro glares at me. It's him. It really is Roronoa Zoro. He looks scarier than the rumors, Kobe mutters in panic, still trying to hide behind my ass. Well, ain't he helping himself, intentionally or not? If we untie that rope, he can escape, right? Luffy asks me with a mischievous grin and I snicker. Yes, if it's anyone but you. Don't forget that you barely can tie anything, let alone untie it. I tell him and he just laughs while Kobe looks at us in horror. Don't say stupid things like that. What do you think will happen if we let him go? Kobe yells at us. Well, if we're infamous pirates, our heads will probably be chopped off by him and be sent to Marines for money. Nyeheheheh. I laugh in amusement. I can imagine our headless bodies running around like headless chickens while Zoro threw our bagged heads into a shipping bin and the Marines paying him up like he just shipped a couple of cabbages. Please don't say nasty things like that. Kobe scolds me with a horrified look on his face. Huh, he can hear my thoughts. That's because you're saying it out loud, Oris-san. He adds. Oh, really? Oh well. Nyeheheheh. I shrug with a hearty laugh while Kobe seemingly just loses his mind over me. Oi Zoro. This is Luffy, my cute little brother I told you about. Remember when I told you he ate a devil fruit? I tell him while thumbing on the rubber boy, who's picking his nose. Gross. Gramps really is a bad influence for him and Ace. I'm gonna kick his ass when I meet him again. Yo, I heard that you—
Yo, quick pause, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, share this video, and tell me in the comments which part you're loving the most.
Lost to Oris. Are you really that strong? Luffy asks as he manages to pick his booger and flicks it off while I give him a disgusted look. Then again, I'll be amazed if you manage to kick Oris' ass. He adds with a shiver before realizing something. Oi Oris. What do you mean by, little brother? I told you that I'm the older one, didn't I? He protested. You say that, but I had my birthday a week earlier than yours, so I'm older. I reply with a half-lidded look. We've had this argument for 10 years now, and the answer is still the same. Just because you're my captain, you can't change reality, dummy. I continue and give him a chop on the head while he just gives me a pout. Cute. So you're that Luffy I've heard a lot from her. Zoro says gruffly and Luffy turns to me. Huh, you talk a lot about me. He asks. Sure did. Can't just leave home and not tell my friends about you. I reply with pride, puffing up my chest and I turn when I feel a small presence approaching us. Seeing my action, the boys turn to look in the same direction to see a ladder being placed next to us as a little girl is climbing up to the wall, gesturing us to be quiet, and then jumping to the other side of the wall to approach Zoro. That's dangerous. Luffy-san, Oris-san, please stop her. She'll be killed. Kobe tells us and I just shrug in return. She'll be fine. I tell him calmly as Luffy watches the scene before us. What's wrong? I hear Zoro asking the girl softly and I blink in amazement. I know this happens through manga anime, but seeing it in real life is really an astonishing sight. Still, seeing and hearing him being a softie is kinda cute. You're hungry, right? I made you some rice balls. The girl says with a smile, making Zoro a little surprised by that. Oh, they're so cute. What are they, siblings? Kinda reminds me of both Luffy and Ace being super cute each time they're bonding together. Watching the sight with endearment, I can hear quiet whispers of Kobe and Luffy talking about me. Luffy-san, what's wrong with Oris-san? Oris always acts like that. They're weird, that's why. Coating my fists with buso, they glint under the sunlight as I bring them to the air before delivering them to their heads, giving them equally big bumps. I ignore their pained cries as I turn around to jump off of the wall and walk away. Oris-san, where are you going? I hear Kobe ask and I glance back at him. I'ma go get us some supplies, because I'm the only one here with money. I tell him casually and start to walk away, and into the town I go, and maybe some sweets too. I add to myself with a grin. After getting supplies and the sweets I can get my hands on, I happily humming, Binks brew, while munching on my candies with a sack of food on my shoulder and walking to our boat. Flame is there, snoozing away, and opens his eyes when he hears me approaching to drop off our supply, but closes his eyes again when he sees that it's just me. Where's Takao? I ask him and he glances at me. On a walk. Oh okay. You hungry? A bit. Okay, let's go get lunch. Don't worry about the boat. With that, Flame immediately hops on his paws and jumps to land next to me. We walk back into the town and ignore the terrified looks from the townspeople when they see Flame's huge figure. Can't blame them for being scared, considering Flame is bigger than any normal wolf in Mount Kalubo, not that animals there are normal sized anyway, and is the perfect steed for even a huge adult like Dayton. Not that he allows anyone to ride him but those he trusts. We eventually enter a diner and I take a seat, with Flame sitting down next to me as I raise my hand. Auntie, I want 10 servings of a special lunch set, please. And also 10 servings of meat without seasonings for the big lug here. I tell the lady that's seemingly the owner of the diner, who seems concerned as she takes glances on Flame. Noticing it, I gently pet the big lug. And don't worry about him. He may be huge, but inside he's just a little puppy. I tell them as the wolf happily wags his tail. If you're worried he'll wreck the place, he won't, he's trained. I assure her, who just smiles politely and off to prepare for my orders. The others in the diner still look worried, but they eventually return to their lunch and back to their banter. I look around and widen my eyes when I spot a certain orangutan a few tables away. Oh, it's Nami. After a moment, my orders finally come and I soon forget about her as I munch on my lunch along with Flame. As I happily enjoy my lunch, I suddenly hear ruckuses behind me. I glance over my shoulder and spot a certain blonde with a weird hairstyle. Oh, it's something Meppo. I take my plate and turn around, watching the ruckus like a movie while eating. So this is what Marine officers do if there are shits like that in front of them, huh? Especially when it's from that bull-haired idiot. Suddenly everyone turns their attention to me, and I blink in return. I said it out loud, didn't I? I ask no one in particular and shrug as I continue on eating, watching something Meppo approach me until he stands in front of me. We stare at each other for a good few seconds before Thing Meppo breaks it angrily. What did you just say, you little girl? Something Meppo asks me in annoyance, and I furrow my brows and coat my fist with buso as I reel it back. Who are you calling little, you damn Mapo tofu? I yell out as I deliver my punch to his stupid, split chin and sending him into the wall. Don't you dare call me, little, again, you stupid Mapo. I add with a growl as the Marine officers quickly approach the snotty bastard. Why you dare to hit me? Mapo tofu screeches out as he's holding his bruised chin with tears in his eyes, I'm the son of Captain Morgan. I'll tell my father that you hit me. He threatens and I snarl at him, making him yelp pathetically. Flame quickly bites and pulls on my sash to rein me back when I'm about to jump at the blonde, who quickly crawls away to the door in fear and stands back up. I will report this to my father and have you executed along with that Roronoa Zoro tomorrow. Brace yourself, he exclaims before he runs away, with the Marine officers trailing along behind him. Come get me if you can. I'm not going down without a fight. I huff before turning to the audience and grin, well, sorry about that. Kinda lose my cool there for a second. I tell them sheepishly and turn to the back door, I know you're there, Luffy, Kobe, and little girl. I say and they all peek in before entering the premises. What were you thinking, Oris-san? For hitting him like that? Kobe exclaims out in panic, you shouldn't make enemies with the Marine. He adds and I furrow my brows in confusion. Kobe, we're pirates. Making enemies with Marines is inevitable. I point out as I sit back down and continue with my lunch. That's true, but... Oi Oris, I turn to look at Luffy, who's unusually serious, I'm going to make Zoro my crewmate. He tells me and I smile a bit. You like him then? I ask and he grins with a nod. Yeah, but he's so stubborn like you. He says and I twitch a bit at that part, and that stupid son said he's going to execute Zoro tomorrow, didn't he? Sure did, so you better save our unofficial new member before he joins as a dead guy. I tell him and he grins before he immediately gets off to get Zoro. Oris-san, why didn't you stop him? Kobe asks nervously. He's saving our new nakama, so why not? I ask back with a shrug as I finish my meals and off to pay for it. You can stay here if you're scared, but I have business to do at the base, so bye. I bid my goodbye as I hop on Flame and we're off to the base, ignoring Kobe's shouts behind us. As we're nearing the base, Flame runs faster before jumping over the wall and landing nicely in front of Zoro, which actually scares him a bit when he sees Flame until I pop up from his back. Yo Zoro, still tied up? I greet him with a grin before I hop off a flame and tell him to stay with the swordsman. Seriously, what's wrong with you and your brother? You guys are insane. Zoro yells at me and I just laugh in return. You don't have to compliment us like that. We know. I reply with a sheepish smirk. That's not a compliment. Anyway, I'm gonna go and steal some shits. Bye Zoro, don't die yet. I tell him as I run toward the base, ignoring Zoro's shout to not ignoring him. Readying and coating my fist with buso, I punch through the wall next to the front door and bust inside as I hear ruckuses from the rooftop. It sounds like Luffy is having fun, and I need to get my fun too. Giggling and taking a step forward to miss half of Morgan's statue from crushing me, I run inside and start to open the doors one by one and ignoring the screams from the ones who are either taking a shower or getting changed to find Morgan's office. After running around, I finally manage to find the office, which should be obvious because it has huge double doors. No one is around because they're too busy dealing with Luffy, so I enter the office and approach the barrels at the corner of the room, which are hiding deposit boxes behind them. Coating my hands with buso, I rip them open and grin when some of them are filled with money. Nice, I can grab them up and give them back to the villagers. Putting the money in my satchel and pockets, I can hear ruckuses and a woman's yelp outside the room. Oh, it's Nami. I wait for the ruckuses outside to die down a bit so that Nami eventually enters the office and gives me a confused and alarmed look. Yo, what you doing here? I greet her with a grin and a wave, here to steal shit. I ask and she tenses up a bit before she smiles sweetly at me, but I quickly stop her. Save your breath, I'm not a marine, never will be. Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm taking all the money. Bye. I bid her off as I turned to the window, opening it, and jumping off when Nami was screaming at me. Before I land on the ground, I kick the air to break the fall as I land on my feet gracefully and turn to look up when I can feel Nami is looking at me with a dumbstruck expression. I just grin at her before running off to where Zoro is when I can feel not only Zoro and Flame, but also Kobe and many other unfamiliar people in front of them. When I finally enter the scene, I can see the boys, the Marines with guns in hands and the captain behind them. What's this? Are you guys starting a party without me? I ask with a smirk when I approach them and turn to face the Marines before swinging my leg towards them, Piso Angan. And releasing a wind projectile to hit them all like bowling pins, except for Morgan himself. Iris-san, where's Luffy-san? Kobe asks and I shrug. I dunno, maybe he's grabbing Zoro's swords. And as if on cue, Luffy rocketed himself in with Zoro's swords tied to his back, he can tie a knot. Grabbing him by the back of his shirt before he kissed the ground, I pulled him up so he's eye level with me. Oi Luffy, you can tie a knot. I ask him, dumbstruck. Huh, kinda. Luffy answers with a grin, but I dunno how to untie it. He adds with a laugh and I sigh in relief as I let him go. And here I thought he suddenly became smart. I dunno what I would do if that happens anytime soon. I might just lose it right then and there. Sir, that child just attacked us with something invisible. I hear someone report and Morgan clicks his tongue. I can see that, idiot. Morgan replies, that rascal isn't normal. He must have eaten one of those devil fruits. Morgan comments. I blink and turn to look at the boys behind me, who are all busy with their own things, and I look back forward to see the Marines and Morgan are looking at me. Oh, you guys are talking about me. I ask as I point at myself. WHOLs. Ah, I see. So those guys mistook me as a boy, huh? I hum to myself, hand on my chin as I look at the Marines thoughtfully. Well, I don't really care about being mistaken for any genders, but... WHO are you calling a child? I yell out angrily as I jump and kick myself up into the air, Hujin Piso. And start to rapidly swing and deliver barrages of sharp winds toward the Marines below. They all immediately scattering around like headless chickens while screaming bloody murder as I land back down with a growl and readying my claws, but Flame immediately approaches me to rein me back by biting and pulling on my sash. Do you need help, Master Aris? I stop and look up with a grin when I see Takao flying down and perching on my shoulder. Where've you been? I ask him as he calmly preening himself. Scouting. He simply replies. Oh okay. Don't let that little brat stop you. Anyone who opposes me must perish. Morgan orders and the Marines grab their swords before charging at me. I can feel their intentions fully as I easily move and dodge around before giving them all punches and kicks to knock them all down. Once they're all down but Morgan, who looks absolutely pissed, I turn to approach the boys, who are finished talking, but then I proceed to trip over my own foot when Morgan is about to hack me down with his axe hand. Damn me for being a fucking klutz. Yelping when I kiss the ground, Zoro immediately grabs his swords and stops the axe to chop my head off like an onion. You damn klutz. Stop tripping over your own limb, will ya? Zoro grumbles in annoyance as I turn around to look up at the scene before me and I scrunch my nose when I catch a whiff of him. Ah, Zoro smells like nasty body odor and dirt. He's desperately in need of a bath that is not rainwater. You smell. You better take a bath after this shit. I comment as I pinch my nose and start to slither under his legs to go back to Luffy. Ah, now I'm covered in dirt. I need a bath after this. Shut up, he yells in return while Luffy just laughs boisterously. Anyway, I already told you that I'd be a pirate with you guys. Either way, after this incident with the marine I'll be an outlaw too, but that's fine because I still have my own goals. He exclaims to us, I'm going to become the world's greatest swordsman. I don't care if my name is clean or not, bad guy, good guy, it doesn't matter. As long as my name is known worldwide. He continues, and if you do something that ends up in the way of my goal, I will have you cut your stomach open to say sorry. I snort as I take out a small notebook and my quill starts writing down his words. Okay, so, Luffy and Aris will commit Sudoku if they get in Zoro's way, got it? Sounds fair to me, as long as you don't get in our way too. I reply with a shrug as I put my things back into my satchel and grins, ignoring Zoro's confusion at the word, Sudoku. Good. To be the world's #1 swordsman. Since you wanna be the Pirate King's nakama, if you can't even accomplish something that small, then I would be very embarrassed as well. Luffy replies with a big grin as he crosses his arms to his chest and Zoro smirks in return. Ariskin is a person with a sword in his mouth. Well said. What are you chattering about? I'll execute you. Morgan yells out as he. Your turn to shine, Lu. I tell the rubber boy and he grins as he readies himself. Yosh. Zoro. Duck. Gomu Gomu no, Muchi. Luffy warns as he coats his leg with Buso and swings his leg towards Zoro, who immediately ducks down as Luffy kicks Morgan away into the base building and makes him crash into it. From what I can feel, that actually knocked Morgan down as Rubbles is covering him. His leg stretches back in a smack and we high-five together with a grin, while literally everyone else but Takao and Flame is gaping their mouths open in complete shock and awe. His leg. He knocked Captain Morgan away. The place is silent until a certain blondie breaks the ice. We turn around and see that Mappo Tofu is pointing his gun to Kobe's head, but he's shaking like a leaf as he keeps glancing at the Rubbles where his dad is. If you want him to live, don't move. Mappo exclaims out and I just roll my eyes in response as I lean down to grab a pebble. Give it up, Mappo Tofu. Don't be a murderer like your dad. I tell him casually as I juggle the pebble with my hand. Shut up, and my name is not Mappo Tofu, it's Helmeppo. He yells back and I just grin. Oh yeah, that's his name. Yeah sure, Meepo. I reply with a nod as Luffy walks to stand next to me and looks at Kobe, who looks like he's about to shit his pants, but as their eyes meet and Luffy grins at him, his resolve returns back to him and he stops shaking like a chihuahua. Don't worry about me, Luffy-san and Aris-san. Kobe exclaims out, I don't want to be an obstacle to your dreams, even if I have to die. Yeah, I know. Luffy replies, still with his big grin as he turns his attention to Helmeppo, give it up, stupid son. Kobe is ready to die. Gomu Gomu no, he says as he throws his fist back. Shut up. Don't you dare move. Sanap and Angan. I coat the pebble with Buso and throw it to Helmeppo's hand, hitting it hard enough for him to yelp in pain and letting his gun go. Pistol. And Luffy punches Helmeppo square on his face, knocking him unconscious. Kobe immediately falls to his butt when the tension finally ends and he lets out a huge relieved sigh with a shaky smile. I walk up to him and offer him a hand, which he immediately grabs and I help him back to his feet. You okay, Pinky? You didn't shit your pants, did you? I tease him as he blushes and frantically shakes his head. Oh of course not. He quickly denies and I just laugh as I pat his head and turn around when the soldiers all are cheering out and hugging each other. Why are they all happy when their captain is beaten? I hear Luffy ask curiously as I approach him. That's because they're all scared of Morgan. Kobe answers, now with him down, everyone will be free. Oh, okay. Suddenly, Zoro is tottering and about to fall, but I quickly hold him to my arms and grin at him. Need help, Armasi princess? May I offer you a good meal for your empty stomach? I ask him with a tease as his pale face flares up in embarrassment. Shut up, I don't have the energy to deal with your teasing. Zoro hisses in annoyance and embarrassment, and don't you dare call me that again. He quickly adds and I laugh. Oi Luffy, Masi princess needs his meal after almost a month of being starved. I tell Luffy as I adjust my hold better of him with my arms under his back and knees, completely ignoring his protest to put him down. Shishishi. Then let's go and grab some food. Luffy exclaims and we run off back to the town's diner with the beasts and Kobe following along. As we go back to the town, 1 or 2 soldiers follow us along to spread the amazing news of Morgan's defeat, and the news spreads over like fire on dry leaves that the townspeople start gathering over the diner as we have our meals for the day, again, for me. But before Zoro can order himself a full-course meal, I stop him by ordering a bowl of porridge for him. Sorry to disappoint you Zoro, but you need to eat soft foods first after not eating for a long time. That way, you won't get sick and vomit it all out. I tell him firmly and he scowls at me. Yeah right, like I'll listen to you. He scoffs and yelps when I pinch his nipple. Anyway, a bowl of porridge for the broccoli princess, lots of special lunch set for the 3 of us, and plain cooked meats for the animals. I tell the auntie with a smile, and she just chuckles. Coming right up, she replies as she walks to the back with her daughter walks up to us. Oi, what gives, Aris? Accept the porridge or vomit out auntie's hard work to make your meal. Your choice. Luffy, who's been watching us, laughs at our antics. Give it up, Zoro. Aris is too stubby to stop. He says and Zoro turns at him with confusion. It's stubborn. I correct him and he just laughs. Yeah, that. In the end, Zoro gives up and accepts the warm bowl of porridge one ordered him, slowly eating it just like I instructed him to do so his stomach won't work too hard after not working after almost a month. The people here are stronger than what I considered normal, but I'm not gonna test it out to our newest member. Can I at least have another? Zoro asks me and I shake my head. Nope. Try again later. He scowls unhappily, but decides to let it go as he turns to Luffy. So, what are your plans next, Captain? Zoro asks, how many crew members do we have anyway? Let's see, there's me, Aris, Flame, Takao, and now you. So we have like, 5 crew members. Luffy answers as he points at each one of us and Zoro looks dumbfounded by that answer. So 3 people and 2 weirdly huge animals. Hey, don't be rude. Flame is not fat. I protest with Flame joining along, but he ignores it as he turns to me. And what about our ship? I nonchalantly thumbed on the window and he walked up to see a small boat by the dock. That one, huh? Hey, don't worry too much. One day, we're gonna get ourselves a huge ship with the sun as the figurehead. I assure him as I start to imagine how Thousand Sunny will look like in real life with a giggle. Oh, she's gonna be so huge. I'm so excited. Zoro just laughs in return, and how are we gonna do that? He asks. With luck and determination, we can do anything. We both reply with a grin and a thumbs up while he literally facepalms and massages the bridge of his nose. I don't think both Luffy-san and Aris-san are exactly planning much about everything. Kobe comments with a smile, seemingly understanding the predicament we just put Zoro into. Am I really gonna follow a captain and a first mate like them? Zoro mutters miserably and I just grin at him. I recommended you to Luffy and he accepted you, so quitting the crew is not an option. I tell him, plus, there's a chance you'll find that world's greatest swordsman guy by joining us. After all, our destination is the same, so why not tag along with us into the Grand Line? I point and his eyes sharpen at the mention of Dracula Mahawk. Fine, I'll follow along with you too. He huffs with a smirk. T to the Grand Line. Just 5 of you. Kobe suddenly bursts out with wide eyes. No matter how strong you all are, it's impossible to do. Don't worry too much, Kobe. We won't immediately go there. We need at least a navigator and a cook to keep us all alive. I assure him with a smile, and a sniper to keep an eye on us from afar. You guys are too carefree. Kobe scolds us. But you're not coming with us, right? Zoro points out and Kobe flinches at that. Even so, I'm worried about you guys. Can't I? Kobe asks, because Luffy-san, Aris-san, and I are friends even though we just met, right? He turns to us uncertainly and we grin at him. Yep, we'll part ways, but once friends, we'll always be friends. Luffy replies and Kobe looks relieved by that. To be honest, I've never had friends since I was little. Kobe starts, nobody really fights for me, and not even I can fight for myself. But seeing all of you, I'm starting to learn and have the courage to fight for my own dream. I'm going to make my childhood dream come true and join the Marines. But before being worried about us, you should worry about yourself first. Zoro replies and Kobe is confused by that as he continues, but no matter how hard you wanted to enter the Marine, you still used to be a crew member of Alvita Pirates, right? Don't underestimate their information gathering. If they know your past, you won't be able to be a Marine. That's, Kobe falls silent at that and I can't blame him. Honestly, I can't really deny Zoro's point either because I kinda know how Marines work on that part. I used to snoop and eavesdrop a lot on every crook and crannies of Marineford, and their skill on that part is almost insanely amazing, if they manage to find out that the Garu they've been looking for is right under their nose after all those times. Sometimes the Marine and WG are so dumb that I'm starting to believe that us being Marines under Garp is a good idea after all. Suddenly, a whole group of Marine soldiers are standing outside the diner as one of them enters and approaches us. I watch the guy calmly as he stands up straight with his hands behind him. Pardon, but is it true that you're pirates? The guy, assumingly the commander, asks us. Yeah, we just got a new member and we officially start our piracy journey. Luffy answers gleefully. The commander nods in response to that as he continues, we're very grateful for your actions against Morgan and saving us all, but you're still pirates that we Marines have no choice but to ask you all to leave this island immediately. Murmurs from the civilians are heard from outside as the commander adds, we're indebted to you, so we won't contact the headquarters. The townspeople immediately protest against his words, which is flattering, but before Luffy can respond, I raise my hand to stop him as I stand up. Are you sure about that? I ask him and he raises his brow in question. You know, it doesn't matter if the Morgie was your captain and whatnot, you guys still followed his orders to harm civilians. You turn a blind eye and ignore the pleas of the innocents, instead of sending words to the HQ about Margarine's actions. I explain and grab on his collar, pulling him down to meet our eyes. Doesn't matter if you were threatened by Margaret, because you guys are no better than him in my eyes. One bad apple will ruin the whole barrel of apples, you know. I point out with a wide smile that didn't reach my eyes while I can feel the shame the Marine soldiers exude. If we didn't by chance reach this place, Rika would have been more hurt or worse, dead. And this auntie here will lose her child. Are you going to take responsibility for those innocents you guys executed before? How many did you kill, I wonder? Can you feel their sticky, warm blood in your hands? Hearing their screams in your sleep? Or maybe your guilt whispers to you of how much of a failure you were to keep civilians safe. The whole area is silent as I stare blankly at the commander, my grip tightening and waiting for his response, which he couldn't exactly deliver as shame and guilt fills his eyes. Oris, I hear Luffy call calmly, that's enough. It's time to go. I stare at the commander for a hot second before I let him go and turn to Luffy with a sheepish grin. Sorry. Got a little worked up. I tell him and he stands up to give me a pat on the head. No worries. Let's just go, okay. I nod in response as he turns to Rika's mom. Thanks for the meals, auntie. He tells her and the boys walk up to exit the diner. Are you guys really leaving? Rika asks me and I smile at her as I give her a pat. Yep, gotta bounce. Captain's order. I tell her and I follow the others, walking past Kobe who's frozen in place. Aren't you one of them too? I hear the commander ask and Kobe stutters to answer. I yelp when I bump into Luffy's back as he suddenly stops to glance back at Kobe. I pout a bit as I walk around him to stand next to Zoro when the commander turns to us. Wait a moment. Isn't he one of you? He asks. Actually, I know what this guy had been up to all these years. Luffy starts and I can see Kobe's surprised look as he walks up to Kobe. There's this fat pirate lady that looks like a duck and has this big iron mace, and this guy was her chore boy for 2 years, he continues as he pokes Kobe's head before Kobe himself gives him a punch on the face. I just watch the scene blankly as Luffy grins and starts punching Kobe back. Zoro elbows me to get my attention. Aren't you gonna stop him? He asks. Nah. I reply with a shrug, you do it. Your first task is to babysit Luffy. I grin smugly while he scowls and rolls his eyes. I just watch him approaching Luffy and grab the back of his shirt, telling him to stop it and Luffy did. Ho ho. He passed the test. Nice. Then the commander decided that Kobe is not one of us and told us to immediately leave the place. Luffy grins at that as he turns and we walk out of the place, leaving Kobe to deal with the next stage of completing his dream. Takao, I called and he flew down to perch on my shoulder. How's the weather? It's clear, Master Oris. There should be an island to the north and we can reach there around a day or two if the weather is still clear. Takao answers and I nod. Alrighty, good job, Takao. I tell him and give him scritches on his neck, which he appreciates greatly before he takes off to the boat, where Flame is already board waiting for us. Slow. I roll my eyes and jump into the boat, things to deal. I tell him and he just huffs in response. Both Luffy and Zoro are talking about Kobe while preparing to set sail when I feel a familiar figure and I turn to look at the familiar orangutan on the very last boat on the dock. She doesn't seem to notice us as she sails off first before us. Luffy-san. We all turn to see Kobe, along with Rika and her mom, before he gives us a salute. Thank you very much, he exclaims, I won't forget your kindness for the rest of my life. Seeing that, Zoro smirks in amusement. I've never seen a marine soldier thanking a pirate. He comments while Luffy just laughs before they both jump on the ship and let down the sail as the wind picks up. Let's meet again, Kobe. Luffy bids his promise, waving his arms as we sail away. And then the marine soldiers from before are joining Kobe and giving us salutes. I smile at the sight and look at the horizon. Yosh, Grand Line, here we come. Shishishi. Luffy exclaims out with a laugh and I smile at him. Oh also Luffy, I call and he turns to me, I met someone that's seemingly a good navigator. And if my feelings are right, we might meet her on the next island. How about we ask her to join us later? She has orange hair and is basically a thief. Hearing that, Luffy grins giddily. That sounds good, I hope we meet her later. And we sure will, on the next island. Chapter 32 updated. I'm bored, I say out loud as I fill up the logbook with entries and doodles from yesterday's event. Both boys only groan in response, agreeing with me. Flame is sleeping while Takao is on lookout duty, as usual. Takao did say that we might reach another island possibly in a couple of days, but it's a couple of days too long for us. And I need my bath. I'm gonna swim. I close the book and put it away neatly next to my satchel before taking off my footwear and hat. Zoro is watching me curiously as I stand up and take off my gauntlets and sash that he slowly starts to realize what I'm doing when I eventually zipping down my sports jumpsuit. What the hell are you up to, you crazy brat? Zoro yells at me with a bright red face as he covers his eyes with his hand. What do you mean? I'm going swimming. I tell him innocently as I take off my jumpsuit, leaving me only with my undershorts. I'm not gonna swim with my clothes. What are you, dumb? I reply teasingly while doing stretches before jumping into the seawater and resurfacing back up to hold onto the boat. Have some decency, would you? I just laughed at his reaction. You're overreacting. I don't have boobs compared to yours, so you can relax. I assure him while he turns to Luffy, who's watching us in amusement. Oi Captain, your first mate has no shame. He complains and Luffy just laughs. Shishishi. I wish I could swim too. Luffy comments instead and Zoro just let out a groan in exasperation. I can't believe I'm babysitting 2 teens, he moans out. I'm gonna hunt us some fishes or something. Got any request? I ask them with a grin. Ooh, I want sea king meat. Luffy exclaims out excitedly and I roll my eyes. Sea kings are rare in the blues, Luffy. I tell him, and how are we gonna cook it? Flame can't keep on breathing fire on it while it's half submerged in water. We'll think of ways to do it. Luffy grins and I stare at him blankly. I'll get some fish instead. I shouldn't have asked you for a request. I huff before diving down into the water and to the bottom, nearing the reefs. With my eyes closed, I use Kanbun to detect my surroundings as I call for Demos to help me fishing. Thankfully it was needle-sized and Zoro didn't notice a thing. Now, it's fishing time. Stabbing the fish and throwing it onto the boat, I keep on going until we get a good amount of fish enough to feed a small village that I finally stop and go back to the boat. When I reach the boat, I see that Luffy is already helping himself by letting Flame do the cooking, while Zoro is doing the guts cleaning. Doing great, boys. I grin as I command Demos back into needle-sized and slip back into my satchel. I hold and pull myself up onto the boat behind the sail, ignoring Zoro's protest as I dry myself up with a small towel I bring along, changing my underpants, and start dressing myself up again. You better save some for me, Luffy. Or you'll do the fishing again yourself. I warn him and he flinches at that as he stops mid-bite. I crawl under the sail to immediately grab the fish in his hand and eat it, ignoring his protests for stealing his fish as I turn to Zoro. So Zoro, how's your 3-sword style? It's going great, as usual. Why? Wanna learn how to use haki? He raises his brow in question while I grin and bring up my hand, coating it with buso before pinching and pulling Luffy's cheek, who is protesting and crying out in pain as he tries to grip my wrist to let him go. You see, I think buso haki will be great for you to increase your offensive and defensive powers, especially against DF users later in Grand Line. What's that anyway? I've seen Luffy do the same too when he beat that Morgan guy's ass, but what is it really? Zoro seems curious about it and I smile mischievously as I let Luffy's cheek go with a smack. He sure did. That's because I've been training his ass off to learn it, along with Kanbun. I reply with a prideful puff of my chest, so how's it? Wanna learn it? Just so you know, I'm sure only a handful of people have haki in this blue, considering they're more common in the second part of Grand Line. Moreover, you might be able to cut steel. I offer him again and he smirks with an interested look in his eyes. Sounds interesting. Tell me more about this haki thing. So for around an hour, I tell him the basics of haki, 3 haki types, and how to utilize them while eating the grilled fishes. After the sudden crash course, he's trying to use buso to coat his katana to no avail. Just try your best to concentrate on coating your hand first. I advise when he's basically glaring at Watto, who's thrumming in encouragement. What a good sword. Even Watto is cheering for you. I add, my katana is what? Zoro questions in confusion. Cheering for you. I repeat calmly, pointing at the said sword. That makes Zoro even more confused and looks at me as if I just threw 3 heads before turning to Luffy for an answer, who's watching us. Your katana is nice. She's cheering for you, Luffy says instead with a grin, and now Zoro is giving him the same look as before. I'm surrounded by lunatics, he says under his breath before turning back to the task at hand. I just snorted in amusement while Luffy turned back to Flame and just practiced his Kanbun/special ears by having a conversation with the huge wolf. You just need to listen more. I tell him with a shrug. Ironic, when I never really listen unless necessary. While Zoro is doing his best, I turn to Luffy and poke his arm to gain his attention. Wanna continue learning my homeworld language? I offer and he grimaces in return. But it's boring, he replies and I roll my eyes. But we can have our secret conversation together that no one can know. It'll be our secret language. I point out and he puffs his cheeks in thoughts, contemplating it while also slowly hurting his head as his face starts to get red. You're thinking too hard. I pat his head to snap him out and he huffs. Okay fine, let's do it. He agrees and I grin in return. Good, let's start with simple questions. And for the next hour, I taught Luffy more about my homeworld language. He's not great at it, but I'm sure it's better compared to Ace now. Okay, last one. Appa Mimpimu. I ask and he immediately grins so wide and so bright like the sun shining down on us. Aku akan menjadi raja bajak laut. He exclaims out and laughs, while I smile happily in return. Bagus, Luffy. Untuk sekarang kamu lulus, tapi nanti kita coba buat enggak kaman sama sekali ya. I tell him and he groans out in exhaustion. Tapi kepalaku sakit. He complains, rasanya, mau sepet. Close. It's, kapit, or, lepas, which means, fall off. I shake my head in amusement. Sepet means, fast. I add, yeah that. Well, good job, Luffy. This way, I'm sure you managed to beat Ace by far. I compliment him and he immediately brightens up, headache forgotten. So cute. We'll surprise him later once we meet him in the Grand Line. Wahoo. Finally, I can beat Ace. He cheers out with his arms up before turning to Zoro, who's been watching us curiously and weirdly. Oh Zoro, how's buso training? Want me to help? Zoro shakes his head but thinks better of it. Maybe a little tip, Captain. He says instead. Okay. You need to focus on putting your all in your hand for example, and then your hand goes, whoosh. When the coating covers your hand. Luffy explains vaguely while applying buso on his fist. Zoro seems to regret his decision to ask the captain and turns to me. I snort in amusement. Well, he's right about one thing. I thumb on Luffy, who seems proud of himself. Focus your willpower to your hand. Kinda like clenching and hardening up your guts before you got struck there, but also putting your willpower along as the coating. It could be your will to protect, or your will to reach your dreams, use them to give yourself a coating. Something like applying a lotion, nyehehe. I chuckle and he seems to understand a bit as he turns back to his hand. Don't push yourself. It is a little hard to grasp and learn in such a short time. I add to assure him from the frustration that builds up. How many years did it take you to master it? He asks and I hum in thought. Around 2 years with Gramps, and another 5 with Luffy and Ace while also training them both at the same time. I answer with a grin. Ace only managed to learn for around 2 years, but he's strong enough already. And who's Ace? Our big brother. Both Luffy and me reply in sync, and Zoro seems weirded out by that but didn't comment on it. Well, I guess I need to learn it faster then. Zoro concludes with a smirk and a challenged glint in his eyes. I doubt it, but good luck with that. I reply with a shrug. Shishishi. At least Aris didn't teach you on land, because I don't think you'll survive Aris hell training. Luffy trails off as he starts to remember his training with me and shudders in fear, while I roll my eyes. Don't be like that. It's not that bad. It is. It's even worse than training with Grandpa. All you did was chase us around through the forest and beat us to death for the whole day. You're overreacting. You're still alive, right? Barely. I pull down his hat to cover his eyes and he yelps in return before pushing it back up to pout at me with his owlish brown eyes. Gosh, he's so cute. Eventually, it became silent again as Luffy is talking to Flame again. Zoro's back to his solo buso hockey training, and I'm bored out of my mind that I decided to doze off near Luffy and hold onto his pinky. I feel him curling it back and I easily slip off into dreamless sleep. But then I got abruptly woken up by a sharp jerk. I growl in annoyance when I see Zoro is frantically rowing the boat towards somewhere. Luffy got taken by a huge bird. Zoro quickly informs me before I can devour him whole for disturbing my nap. Oh, I notice that Takao is nowhere to be seen and see that he's actually following Luffy and the huge bird. I can only hold onto the railing of the boat as I can feel 3 people floating in the sea in front of us. There are 3 people in front of us around 100 meters from us. I inform Zoro and he glances at the horizon. Sure enough, as Zoro keeps on rowing, 3 specks are slowly seen better and I see that they look like your typical mob pirates. And then they yell out to help them, but Zoro yells back to get away or grab the boat if they don't want to get run over instead, which they actually did grab hold onto the boat while Zoro keeps on going. Hee, you guys really did it, huh? Zoro laughs in amusement and I snicker at that. Are you trying to kill us? The 3 stooges yell out before one of them is brandishing his sword at my throat as they look at Zoro. Hey, stop the boat. We're the crew members of the infamous Buggy the Clown and we're taking the boat. At that, Zoro immediately stops to slowly turn at them with a deathly glare and shadow creeps up to his face, huh. In the end, Flame is the one that deals with them with an easy fire breath and lots of bites, before Zoro made them row the boat instead. They even apologized to us because of their rudeness and told us their origin story of why they were drifting in the sea, which of course includes our favorite Oranget lady. So, you're this buffoon's crewmates and Nami threw you overboard because you guys are greedy bastards. Is that right? I summarize their story as I cross my arms to my chest. Serves you right. I should have just cut you up here and used your corpses as shark baits. I huff darkly and the 3 stooges yelp out in fear. And because of you guys, we lost sight of our captain. Zoro adds in annoyance as I look up to where both Luffy and Takao are heading. I'm gonna go after them. I announce as I grab my satchel before looking at Flame, ignoring Zoro's confused look. Flamey, keep an eye on Zoro. He tends to get lost even on a straight line. I tell him while holding down my hat before I jump on the yard and into the air, kicking up as I take myself up towards our destination. Definitely missing out the way Zoro is popping his eyes out in awe as he watches me take off. I keep on going until I can see an island that I'm sure is Orange Island, and I see a familiar building with a familiar pirate flag. Seeing it in real life is pretty impressive. And also there's absolutely no one save for buggy pirates, 1 dog, a familiar Oranget, Luffy, and Takao. And then adding me into the pile too. Slowly descending down and landing gently to the middle of the town, I notice that there's another guy besides those I just counted just walking around the street. From what I can feel and see, he seems a year younger than Luffy. He wears a tattered dark green jacket and a plain orange shirt underneath, short gray jeans and an unusual big, double-bladed scythe on his back. He has short black hair with undercut on the side of his head, dark green eyes, a baby face, and I think he has the same height as Luffy, much to my annoyance. He kinda looks like an orange. He doesn't seem to notice me, so I just calmly walk across and pass him by, only for him to actually notice me and put a hand on my shoulder. I turn around only to face familiar eyes full of enthusiasm like Luffy's on the guy. Fortunately, Luffy's are brighter and cuter, so the guys didn't give me any reaction. What's up? I greet him and he's definitely sparkling. Don't work on me though. I'm Canary V. Herox. And you? He introduces himself and I blink blankly at him. Ryu and A. Baris. I introduce myself and he grabs onto my shoulders with enthusiasm. Cool. Let's fight. Maybe later. I got a brother to find and clowns to kick. I tell him calmly. Clowns? You mean Buggy? Oh, how about I show you the way where they reside? He offers cheerfully. I was about to refuse, but it saves me the trouble of finding it, so why not? Sure, that would be great. I smile at him, and maybe we can fight later. After all, I'm not gonna refuse a good sparring session. Really? Cool. Come on, I'll show you the way. He exclaims and runs off. I run along with him as I look around at the dead town and detect the town using Kanban. It seems like Luffy is caught by Buggy already, and both Zoro and Nami are also in the same area as him. When we finally arrive, I bid him goodbye as I hop on the air to take myself to the rooftop, not realizing how the hero guy gets starry-eyed when he sees me until I'm far in the air. Holding onto my hat and looking at the scene below me, I see that Zoro is about to get stabbed by Buggy from behind, using his DF power to cowardly bring him down. Scowling, I stop kicking the air and coat my legs with Buso as the gravity pulls me down towards Buggy. Bintang Jatu. I murmur just before I land on the red-nosed clown straight to his spine and into the floor, leaving a huge crater under us as he loses consciousness and his floating hand lands down while the dagger clatters away. I put my foot down on Buggy's head and grind on it while staring darkly at him. That's what you get for attacking a swordsman from behind, red-nosed. I growl furiously before turning to my audience with an innocent smile. Yo, I see that you guys started the party without me. I greet them all cheerfully. While Buggy's crews are far too shocked to react more than gapping their mouths, my crewmates immediately break into a big grin. Baris, you're here, Luffy exclaims out happily before turning serious. Baris, we need to go. He orders. I gotcha, Captain. I reply with a smirk as I hop off of Buggy's unconscious body to run up toward the cannon and to Zoro. You okay, Broccoli? I ask with a smirk and he just rolls his eyes. I'm fine. Zoro grumbles with a scowl and I just stare at him with half-lidded eyes. Men and their pride. Where are Flame and Takao anyway? I ask as I lean on the cannon and take a glance at Nami, who seems to be panicking internally and regretting her decision to team up with Luffy. I told Flame to keep an eye on the boat, because Takao accompanied me instead, but I don't know where he is now. He answers with a shrug and sheaths back his swords. I hum in reply and turn to Nami with a smile. We finally meet again, Miss Oranget. I greet her and she seems surprised to see me again, but I break our eye contact as I grab on the cannon and easily make it turn toward the Buggy pirates with a heavy thump. Noticing what I'm planning to do, the pirates start panicking while I grin darkly at them. Light it up, orange sis. I order Nami and she seems stunned for a bit, before she snaps out of it and quickly lights the fuse back on. While waiting, I turn to Luffy and sigh in frustration for him being locked up in a cage. Can't you just chew on the bars and free yourself out? I ask in annoyance, but he just grins at me as an answer instead. Fine, back away. Coating my leg and bringing it up, I slam my heel down at the concrete side of the cage at the same time as the cannon goes off. Once the cage breaks open, the tied-up Luffy easily stands up and jumps over the bars to give me and the others a big grin that is as bright as the sun itself. Well, time to run. Luffy exclaims out as he starts to run off and we follow him along, with Nami hot on our heels. While Zoro and Nami take the normal route aka the stairs, both Luffy and me jump off the roof instead. But before we landed on the ground as meat piles, I kicked the air and landed gracefully on my feet as Luffy also landed nicely next to me. We keep on running while laughing in amusement for a few minutes until we stop in front of a shop with a dog loyally sitting there, and guess what, Takao is there and currently having a conversation with him. Oh there you are, Takao. I greet him as he and the dog turn to us. Where were you? Dealing with a big cat and a human with a weird hat from destroying the shop. Takao answers calmly as he turns toward the said big cat and person with a weird hat, which turns out to be an unconscious pile of Richie and Moji. Ooh, nicely done, Takao. I praise him and pat his head. He chirps happily in return. Wah. I turn to see Nami is pointing at Takao and losing her mind over him, who looks like a normal blue-feathered eagle is currently talking in common. Oh, Takao ate a devil fruit. Now he can talk and transform. I explain simply as I gently put Zoro down next to the dog while Takao transforms into his humanoid Garuda form and nods at her. Nice to meet you, master's friend. He greets calmly, ignoring her panic and disbelief. Yours orange is the fruit. He adds and that snaps Nami out with a scowl. Shut up, talking bird. Rummaging through my satchel, I grab myself a burn bomb and throw it at Nami, who catches it in a yelp before looking at the bomb weirdly. From my peripheral vision, I see Zoro is cutting the rope off of Luffy with his sword while grumbling that he didn't get to show his worth again, but I ignore it as I look back at Nami. It's for your hands, not consumption. I explain to her and she snaps at me. I know that. It's just, why? Why did you do all of these? You're just pirates, right? Nami asks me with pure confusion in her voice and a glare, and you? I don't know how and why you come, but you're one of their nakamas too, right? Yeah, I'm this rubber brain's big brother and first mate. I answer calmly as I coat my fingers with buso and pull on his cheek, in which he protests in pain. And I'm sure whatever just happened is basically your fault, right? Just so you know, I don't take kindly to those who harm those dear to me. I add with a smile as I let Luffy go. With that, Nami flinches as guilt fills her, but I just stare blankly at her. Just use the bomb, I tell her, and she immediately does so, glad that I didn't decapitate her right then and there. And then suddenly ruckuses can be heard and I turn to see that the dog is biting Luffy for teasing and poking him. I just watch the scene blankly as Zoro is massaging the bridge of his nose in exasperation until the dog eventually lets Luffy go. Nami seems dumbfounded at the scene that she just gapes. For the next few moments, we all are just taking a small rest until two people are approaching us. A weird-haired old man with some kind of armor, and the teen boy from before, hero guy, I guess. Who are you guys? Are you one of those despicable buggy pirates? The old man, I'm guessing the mayor, asks us in alarm. No, but I kinda kicked Red Nose's ass and Takao kicked their asses. I reply while thumbing on the still unconscious Richie and Moji pile on the side. That seems to make the old man bulge his eyes in shock while hero guy is sparkling in awe. See, mayor, I told you I found someone strong. Hero guy exclaims giddily while the said mayor is still in disbelief. Unbelievable. To think that you're right this time, Hiro-kun. Mayor comments curiously and hero guy looks betrayed by that. Hey, that was uncalled for, mayor. Ignoring them, I turn to Nami. Orange sis. Go steal the map back from that clown. I tell her and she snaps her head at me before scowling. Don't order me around, pirate. And my name is Nami. She snaps at me, why are you talking like guys anyway? Aren't you a girl? Doesn't matter if I'm a girl or a boy or none in between, I'm just copying Luffy's way of talking and I'm comfortable with that. I answer her questions with a roll of my eyes before changing it back to the first topic, and okay then. Nami, please steal the map back from that Red Nose as repayment for you hurting my nakamas. I reworded it and she flinched at that before gritting her teeth. I hate you. Thanks. I love you too. Takao, go accompany her and grab the treasure along if you can. Understood. The treasure is all mine, so hands off. I'm not interested in gold, so calm down, kitten. After watching them walking away, I turn to Luffy and Zoro, who are listening to whatever the mayor is saying while hero guy is giving me an intense stare that says, fight me. Okay, let's spar. I sigh out and he cheers out with his arms up. He takes me to an empty lot as he pulls the scythe on his back out and twirls it around for a moment before holding it with both hands. My name is Canary V. Herox. It is a pleasure to be fighting you, Ryu and A. Baris. Hero guy exclaims out with a big grin that's filled with anticipation, here I come. He runs up to me and swings his scythe to me. I take a step back to dodge it and jump away as he swings the second blade. As I land on the ground, I quickly jump forward at him and warding away his scythe as he swings it down at me while I coat my other fist for a punch. Tinju lang it. And I give him an uppercut to his chin, punching him up into the air, but he quickly recovers by easily landing on the ground on his feet a few meters from me. That punch is good. I feel that in my brain. He comments with a grin as he rubs on his bruised chin, but you're holding back. Why's that? Killing you is not what I want. I reply sharply as I put on my stance, and he seems to sense the seriousness in my tone that he didn't comment further. I see. Well, I can't have you killing me. Hero guy replies as he twirls his scythe in his hand. After all, I have a dream to accomplish. He finishes as he holds his scythe with both hands. A dream, huh? Then I suppose I will be your first hurdle for you to accomplish it. I smirk as I clash my knuckles together to coat them in my gauntlets with buso before grinning madly at him as I readied my fists. Try to survive, because there's a chance of me losing control. I warned him as I sick-ed myself up to him. That seems to take him by surprise, but he didn't falter as he parries my fist with the snath and pushes it down to slash me. But I hold my ground as I slide my arm up to stop the blade to reach my head before deflecting it away and readying a palm heel strike with my other hand with curled thumb to the palm. Topic Buddha. Hitting him square to his chest to push him back, in which he lets out a grunt as he gets pushed back, but I can feel him hardening up just before my attack gets him. I know for sure that it's not hockey, so I wonder. He smirks at me before he runs up to me and swings his scythe down, which I evade away and quickly duck down when I get a vision of him decapitating me. True enough, he spins around along with his scythe to try to slash my head off. He clicks his tongue as he misses while I skid backward and stay alert. But then he smirks and starts to run, as copies of him start to surround me. I just watch carefully until they all stop and grinning at me, Soru Sakaku. Who? Rokushiki user 2, huh? I hum, impressed. What an interesting opponent I got here. But it's not enough to kick my ass. Here we go. The hero guys exclaim and jump at me with their scythe ready to slash me, but I easily see through his bluffs and turn around to deflect away the real one that's right behind me. He seems surprised by that and I smirk at him as I grab the snath to snatch it off of his hands and kick him square to his gut. He literally rolls backwards until he crashes into a wall while I just laugh and twirl his weapon in my hand. And that's a wrap. One victory for me, I announce with a smirk, not even breaking a sweat. I approach him while he scratches the back of his head sheepishly. I lost, he says with a tired smile, his hair sticks to his forehead because of sweat. I offer him a hand and he grabs it as I pull him back to his feet. I give him back his double-bladed scythe and he grins in gratitude. Against me? Of course you would. Picking me as your opponent is quite a bad pick for you. I replied teasingly, but still, that Soru was amazing. Did you develop it yourself? Yeah, and I saw that you used Geppo to take yourself to the roof back at Buggy's, so I assume you're familiar with Rokushiki. He asks as I hop on my foot to another. Yep, trained with my Gramps. I didn't master all of them though. I cover the rest with hockey instead. I just need to learn them enough for me to teach my friends on what to keep an eye on if they're dealing with the government dogs. I answer with a dark grin and I see that his expression darkens when I mention it. Not a fan of them too, huh? Well, something like that. He simply replies as he straps his scythe back to his back. Same with me, then. I grin as I stretch my arms up and let out a big sigh. Our Gramps is the Marine Vice Admiral, and he kept on pushing us to join the Marine until one of my brothers died in the hands of the damned dragons. Since then, he mellowed down a bit, but he still trained our asses to death anyway. I laugh a bit and Hero Guy widens his eyes at that. Oh, sorry about your brother, I wave him off and pat his back. It's okay. I've had half of my revenge, and I think he survived it although he lost his memories. He's out there somewhere. He looks at me curiously, but decides to think better than asking further. Well, I hope you meet him soon. He tells me instead with a smile and I smile back. Thanks. Well then, I need to check on my crews. See you around. I wave my hand as I start to walk away from him until he grabs my hand. Whoa, hand-holding before the first date. What a forward guy. Aris-san. He calls and I turn to look at his smiling face. He lets my hand go to point his index finger at me. I've decided. My dream is to defeat you someday. He declares out with a big grin. This is the first time I lost to someone and you've encouraged me, and I've decided to train harder by setting sail into the sea to chase you. I don't think I said anything to encourage him, but I stayed quiet and let him keep on going. I will set sail and defeat every opponent. I will never lose again until we meet again in this vast sea. But until then, I hope you brace yourself for our next meeting. He exclaims out, because the next time we meet, I will defeat you. He finishes with his fist up. Wow, what a dork. Lucky for him, I don't hate dorks. Well, who am I to refuse a friendly rivalry? I shrug and press our knuckles together with a grin. Just so you know, I will still become stronger, but I will still wait for you at the top. He grins at me while I just smile in return before we let out a hearty laugh together. And then he just runs off to somewhere, yelling that he needs to get ready for his journey. Blankly watching the dust he left, I shrug nonchalantly and walk back to where the others are just right when something big is approaching. I stopped just in time as the rows of buildings in front of me got blasted off, sending rubbles and dust my way. Letting the rubbles and pebbles to hit me out while closing my eyes and holding my breath, I hold on until it disperses away. I wave my hand around and rub my bruised forehead that got hit by the big rubble. Well, that happened. I hope no one is hurt because of that. I keep my relaxed pace with my kanbun on, detecting life forces nearby as my crews and the other ones. When I finally reach the place, I see that Zoro just pulls himself out of the rubbles while the others are relieved to see him alive. Oh hey guys, did Zoro get blasted off? I see Nami turn to look at me as I approach them with an annoyed look. Where were you? And what did you do to that weird kid? She asks with judgmental eyes as always. Beaten his ass, he loved it, and now we're rivals. I answer simply and she looks confused by that, but she notices my bruise and glances at it. Just a bruise. And here I thought you're going to get more injuries than that. Nami comments and I just shrug. We're just sparring, not killing each other. Besides, he's far weaker than me and I'm not interested in killing him. I reply coldly as I fidget on my gauntlets with my eyes closed. The only ones I will kill are those I deemed my enemies. I'm not interested in killing others. I can feel that Nami's suspicion and nervousness heightens before she lets out a scoff. I open my eyes to observe her as she starts to walk away with a big sack with her. Yeah well, you guys can kill each other all you want, but I'm out of here. Nami says and waves her hand to us. You can try, but you won't get rid of us. I tell her, but she ignores me. I turn to look at the crime scene and see that there's also Kabaji under the rubble, obviously unconscious, and Luffy is nowhere to be seen. Where's Luffy? I ask Zoro, who's relaxing on the ground. But before he can respond, Luffy's shout cuts it. How dare you mess up this hat? I turn my attention to see Luffy is sitting on rubbles, looking at his hat that got cut at the brim while I see Buggy, still alive and kicking, is across him with a malign grin and missing a hand. I found the hand is currently floating behind Luffy, ready to rip through the straw hat. But before he can, Luffy grabs his hand and holds it hard as he told him that the hat is a memento from Shanks, which makes Buggy wince in pain and drops the daggers but looks even more annoyed. Well, that's one way to keep the hat safe. And then Buggy starts telling Luffy how he got his DF power, why he hates Shanks, etc. Oh, so Shanks saved your life. Luffy comments in conclusion, while Buggy is yelling at him for not getting the point. Also, where's Takao? I thought he should be around after helping Nami. Speaking of Nami, Buggy seems to notice that she's sneaking away with his treasures, so his upper half immediately unlatches itself from the lower half to fly to Nami's treasure sack, ready to attack her. But before he could, Luffy noticed his lower half and immediately kicked him right in the balls. I clap my hands in pride while Zoro winces and pales down. Thanks to the kick, Nami is saved and she slumps down in relief to the ground while Buggy is just twitching on the ground next to her, absolutely in agony. Your opponent is still me. Luffy exclaims with a grin before turning to Nami, "Oi, put that treasure down and run. Or you're gonna get chased again." Luffy tells her, "Put the treasure down and run. Why should I leave my treasure behind?" She yells back, "I'm a pirate treasure thief, and I just stole from a pirate, so this treasure is mine and I'm not leaving without it." Huh, so the treasure is more important than your life. That's dumb. Luffy concludes and that seems to anger Nami. "Shut up. I don't want to hear you preaching to me about my life, pirate." She snaps and Luffy shuts up. And then Buggy, who recovered from his pain, splits his body apart and I grimace in disgust when I can see his organs and bones from the split pieces. It's giving me flashbacks from that time. Cold pool of blood under my feet. Warm and fresh blood trickling down my arms. The lifeless eyes that are staring at me. Organs spilling out from their split guts. Broken bones sticking out from their skins. The slowly beating heart in my palms. I slowly crouch down to the ground with a whine, holding onto my head and closing shut my eyes. Everything is spinning, spinning and spinning. It's dark and cold. It's getting darker and harder to breathe. I'm scared. Something jerks me up and I stare into a familiar owlish eyes. The smell of meat and sun fill my nostrils as the eyes gently stare at me. Slowly, I can feel warm and calloused palms on my cheeks, the warm salty breeze tickling and the warm sun stinging my exposed skin. Oh, that's right. I'm okay now. It's in the past. It won't haunt me. I'm stronger than the shadows of the past. They're just necessary sacrifices for a better future. It's okay. Luffy is here. He won't leave me. Slowly taking in a deep breath. When did I stop breathing? I exhale it out with closed eyes before opening it back to see Luffy's owlish eyes. Good. Luffy simply asks and I nod. Good. I reply and he smiles in relief. Don't worry, I kicked that buffoon's ass into the air and we won't see him anytime soon. He reassures me and I smile at him. How long was I out? I ask and he shrugs as he turns to Zoro, who I kinda forgot that he's next to me while it happened and he looks relieved to see me finally out of it. I also see that Nami is also around and looks a little concerned, but she quickly looks away when our eyes meet. Not long. Just a good few minutes, I think. Zoro answers and Luffy nods before he turns back to me. Well, we don't have any more business here, so let's go. He says with a blinding grin and I nod, pushing myself up back to my feet before we start to run, following Luffy and Nami, who had a head start. Holding my hat, I let my kanbun turn back on as we run and I can suddenly hear many voices approaching us. Oh, the townspeople. Did you do something to the mayor? I ask Luffy. Yeah, I knocked him out so he won't die in vain. And when you're having your episode, they come to kick the pirates' asses. We're pirates, so they're gonna kick our asses. He answers. I knew it. Well, we better go before the townspeople get us. I say and he giggles in return as he runs faster so he's the same pace as Nami. This is a good town. Luffy exclaims as Nami turns to look at him in disbelief. Just for one person, they'll fight. I would call them fools, but I don't hate brave fools like them. I comment and look at Nami with an understanding glint in my eyes. She didn't say anything in return but looked back forward with an unreadable look in her eyes. We keep on running and turn toward an alley, only to see an unusual sight of the white dog with weird barks from before and the hero guy. Both of them are standing on either side of the alleyway. Hero guy grins at me as we run past him and keep on going forward, while the dog barks at the approaching townspeople. We won't let you pass. I hear hero guy exclaim. I glance back at him, looking at his back for a second before I turn back forward with a smile. Eventually we arrive at the dock and I just notice that Zoro is nowhere to be found. I let out a sigh and turn to look at Takao, who's relaxing on our boat with Flame, giving him a silent signal and he's off to find the missing mossball princess. I turn to look at the others, where the previous three stooges are still around and currently yelling at Nami. I calmly walk up behind them to pick them up by their scruffs, throw them up, and kick them away like a football for a good distance. Home run. Nyeheheheh. I cheer out with a laugh, while I can feel Nami is absolutely confused by the incorrect term before shaking her head as I hop into our own boat at the same time as Takao literally pulling Zoro back to us. Lost again, Princess Broccoli. I ask with a smirk and he glares at me in return while Luffy just laughs. The boys go aboard our boat and we start to set sail, with Nami in her own boat. As we get some distance from the dock, I can feel a familiar person is running up to the dock and both Luffy and me turn to look in that direction. Sure enough, it's the mayor. Thank you, I owe you, Mayor exclaims out and we grin at him. Don't worry about it, just live happy lives, Luffy shouts back and waves at him. As we got a little farther from the island, Luffy immediately approached me and held out his hat, giving me his famous puppy eyes. You should know that asking me to sew is a wrong decision. Do I look like I ever sewed something? I point out and he pouts. But you're smart, you can do it, Luffy argues and I turn to Nami. Oi, orange lady, can you sew a straw hat? I ask and she raises her brow in question. What if I can you please sew Lou's straw hat? I'll pay you well. For emphasis, I pull out a bag of coins from my satchel and offer it to her, who immediately grabs it and Luffy's hat. I'm doing this for the money, Nami says as she starts to walk away. Thanks anyway, I tell her before she's out of sight and lean back to look at the sky. The soft breeze tickles my cheeks and whispers reassurance, the sea is gently rocking the boat, and the conversation between the others is the background noise. To be honest, it's a little embarrassing to lose it back there, but somehow I'm glad Zoro didn't really comment on it. I don't know about Nami, considering I can't really read my surroundings when I am down, but hopefully she won't comment on it. I hope Chopper can deal with mental illnesses too, because I need treatments. Chapter 33 Updated. I'm bored. No one responds to my complaining, as they're all busy doing whatever they're doing at the moment. I turn to look at Nami, who's reading the newspaper while sometimes checking on the map and compass so we stayed on course. Oi Nami, anything fun on the papers? I ask her and she just lets out a sigh. For the 10th time, I told you nothing fun is in the newspapers. Nami replies as she flips the page to read the next entry. Any wars or revolts on papers? I ask again, there's no such thing. Why are you so interested in those things anyway? I shrug noncommittally. I like chaos. I answer and she gives me a weird look, before shaking her head and back to her papers. But mostly because I'm waiting for any more info about my brothers. I continue. Brothers? You have more than one. I thought your brother was Luffy. Nami asks and I smile at her. Sure, but we have two more. One already set sail many years ago, and the other just a few years ago. I told her. I can feel Luffy tenses up a bit, but quickly relaxes as he keeps his eyes to the horizon, so I continue, the one I've been searching for is the first one. And why's that? Nami asks, uncharacteristically curious. He was shot down by a celestial dragon when he set sail. I answer with a sad smile and she widens her eyes in surprise, but I know somehow he survived. Maybe he lost his memories from that attack or something, that's why he didn't come home all these years. Celestial dragon. This time, Zoro asks, curious enough that he wakes up from his nap. The so-called gods of this world, the leaders of the world government. I answer venomously as my eyes glint in malice, but in reality, they're just snotty-nosed people with weird-ass outfits and see other beings as nothing but playthings or insects. You'll know them when you see them. I can feel Nami shivering when she looks at me and Zoro is tensing up, while Luffy is still watching the horizon but keeping his ears open, followed by the beasts. I shake my head and smile a bit as I turn to Nami. Anyway, how long until the next island? I ask her. She seems dumbfounded by the sudden change, but she quickly looks at her map and compass. It won't take long. We're getting closer to our next destination. She answers as she uses her binoculars. I can see a small speck on the horizon, so I'd say just a good hour until we reach it. Niece. Oi Zoro, wanna spar there later? Zoro looks at me in interest and smirks. Good timing. I was just about to ask you the same thing. He answers, you said, Haki will get stronger if you fight another Haki user, so I'd say sparring with you will get the results I want. Hearing that, I grin smugly while Luffy whips his head around to 180 and Nami yelps in shock and disgust. Zoro no. You'll die. Luffy warns in horror, but I quickly grab his mouth and hold it tight as he tries his best to pull himself away from me to no avail. Then I want you to go all out on me. I tell him joyfully with a big smile, though I can't guarantee your survival in exchange. Well, I'm a member of the future Pirate King. If I'm not strong enough to support him, then I'm not worthy. Zoro answers simply. That answer makes my chest feel warm and tight, as the pressure on my shoulders is slowly being lifted away. In return, I smile brightly at him. Then I'll leave some on you, partner. I tell him and he just smirks in return. Leave it to me, Vice Captain. XXX. Finally reaching the said island, I can hear a lot of voices despite the thick foliage. That means it's not an island with human civilization, but animals. Nami said she got rumors about the island being a treasure island, but I'm not really interested in exploring at the moment, so I leave that to Luffy and company, while Zoro and I stay behind for our sparring session by the shore. Ready, broccoli? I ask as I clash my fists together to coat my fists with buso and put on my stance. I'll give you the first move. We'll attack in 3 turns and I'm just gonna use Haki to deal with you. That alright with you? He puts on his bandana and unsheathes his katanas, readying his own stance. How kind of you. And it's fine by me. He replies with a smirk before he rushes into me. Unfortunately for him, he's too slow. I take a side step and crouch down to kick his footings, where he loses his balance. I immediately rushed into him as he quickly regained it back and turned to face me again, but he didn't expect me to be upon him and punch him without my fist connecting to his chest, making him repel off into the trees behind him for a good dozen feet. Grinning at my own handiwork of broken trees and shocking the island inhabitants, I can feel him completely stunned down and gasping for air. "Get up, Zoro," I exclaim out with a playful tone. "The lesson barely starts, and you're already down. Stop being weak. I don't need weaklings to shoulder the responsibility." Hearing that, I can hear him cursing out and pushing himself up to put on his stance. I smirk as I put my hand on my hip, easily seeing him rushing in on me. "Oni, Jiri." I grab hold of his head as a leverage to pull myself up and use him as a stepping stone to dodge his attack. I land gracefully behind him while he stumbles a bit before quickly straightening back to face me. "You're too slow and it's embarrassing to watch." I tell him with a huff. "You have the offensive power, but not so much on agility and defense." "What's your verdict then?" Zoro coughs out. I can hear him struggling to breathe, but he'll live. "You need Kanbun to read your opponents, and Buso to deliver the blow." I start calmly. "I can see you being the offensive player, as in, offensive is the best defense, kind of thing. While mastering both at the same time isn't impossible, it's going to be a hard journey for a beginner like you. So I want you to be as beastly as you can." I grin widely with madness as I put on my stance. "Fight me like a cornered rat, with the calmness of a fish in an aquarium." I immediately rush in to strike his wrists to disarm him, letting his katanas slip out of his grips, and I grab both swords by the sharp edge to throw them off somewhere. "Oi!" Zoro protests as he is down to one sword, but I just grin in return. "There will be times where you will be down to no weapons in hands." I start calmly. "Unless your own body is your weapon, or your weapon can magically return to you, you can be rendered defenseless and before you know it, you'll die. Just use one for now. Try to coat her with your will." He looks down to Watto, and while he's unhappy that he's back to being a one-sword style, that didn't stop his fighting spirit as he puts on his stance and puts his concentration to coat his treasured katana. I can feel the coating is shimmering in and out, but it's far too weak that it barely gives the signature black coating. It stays like that until Zoro loses his steam and leaves him panting out. Well, I can feel the coating, but unfortunately it's not coated enough to be an actual defense. It's more of a paper shield than an iron shield. I tell him my observation, but it's still a good progress, so good job. Now come at me, we still have one more turn. I point out, this time coating my whole body with Buso, and Zoro is amazed by it while I just smirk. "Because your haki isn't developed enough, you need to come up with a move to counter those with thick skin, or even iron. For that, I'll be your hurdle, so listen." He blinks once, but he quickly understands and immediately readies himself by closing his eyes and resheathing his katana. I can tell he's taking in his surroundings and slowly developing his still weak Kanbun haki to listen, before opening his eyes and coating his katana still weak while running up to me. "Itoryu Ei, Shishi Sun." I tank in for the attack as he passes me and resheathing his katana again. I grit my teeth together when his attack managed to nick my torso and clothes, but not deep enough to make me bleed. I undo my coating and turn to face Zoro, who's panting and looking at me expectantly. "Well, you managed to nick me and cut open my clothes, so I'd say you pass. For now," I tell him with a smile, and he seems proud of himself. Although I might need new clothes because of that. I laugh and stretch up as he gathers his discarded swords back. "How can you manage to coat your whole body with Buso?" Zoro asks while sheathing his swords. "It's a little hard to do and mine is not thickly coated, but it's just like when you coat just one part of your body or an extension of your body, but make it your whole body instead." I explain as I check on my necklace. "It's not damaged, so we're good. I would just coat my arms, but I don't want to break your treasured katana." I add. Zoro raises his brow in question, but seemingly knows better than asking me to actually show it that I just laugh in return. "How's your chest? I hope I didn't give you arrhythmia." I tend to forget my own strength and how attacking people in the chest is bad. I ask in worry and Zoro just shrugs as he hops back onto the boat. "I'm fine, I can just sleep it off." He replies calmly, acting fine and definitely not in pain, and I roll my eyes. "Men and their pride. I can feel you cringing in pain with that fist-shaped bruise at the center of your chest, dumbass." I tell him with a huff as I follow him. He just scowls in return, but doesn't retort in return because I'm right. "Leave me alone, woman." He scoffs as he plops down with his katanas in his lap, and I poke his bruise in return. He flinches. "Fine then, I'm not a doctor anyway, so I don't know how to deal with injuries." I shrug as I plop down next to him. "Let's meditate and develop your Kanbun haki. Try to listen to your surroundings." I tell him as I cross my legs and put on my meditation stance with my eyes closed. I can feel him following suit, and we start to meditate in silence. Zoro's calm breathing and his burning will to get stronger next to me. The splashing water against the shore in our boats. The rustling leaves of the bushes and trees from the forest. The whistling wind against us and into the island. The various voices of the animals and people of the island. The whispers from the deep blue sea, the giggles from the cool wind, and the warm smiles from the bright afternoon sun. Sometimes, it can be a little overwhelming, but it's better to focus on those voices than mine. Monologuing is the last thing I want while I'm left to my own devices, but here I am, monologuing. It's been a while, but I wonder how my previous family's life is now. It's not like I didn't miss them, but it's hard to miss those who barely spared a glance at you when you did your best to impress them, but paid full attention when you messed up and kept on reminding you about it. Of course, me didn't think any better but obey and be good. Fortunately, they left me on my own most of the time, thus I could still indulge myself when I was alone. And now I'm here, completely free of their clutches and able to focus on one thing I always dreamt of. It's not clear if I can actually reach that dream, but I can and will keep on trying. Because if I don't, what else should I do? Other than that, I don't really have anything going on or want in my life. I just want to see the end of Luffy's journey to be the freest person in the world, and then maybe I will try to find my own purpose for my own. Of course, if Luffy knows about it, he'll be annoyed because I don't really have a dream of my own, but it's my freedom and I get to choose whatever I want to do in my second life. He can be a literal incarnation of the sun god or whatever, but not even his puppy eyes can stop me. Oh, Luffy and company are on their way back. Opening my eyes and stretching out, I see that Zoro is still meditating. I stare at him for a moment before delivering a punch to him, and he quickly moves away to dodge it as he opens his eyes with a scowl. What the hell, woman? You dodge. Good. That means you listened. I praise him and lean back with my arms draping on the railings. You can hear my intention to hurt you, right? Maybe. I don't know if I can say that I listened, but I can feel that something is about to hurt me. Zoro replies in thought and looks at the approaching figures of Luffy and company from the forest. Zoro. I'm so happy you're alive. Luffy exclaims out as he launches himself to Zoro and clings to him like a baby monkey. I'm insulted. Hey, that was uncalled for. Don't spread misinformation about me. I yell out with crossed arms. But it's true. You're as scary as Grandpa. Stupid gorilla. I immediately punch him in the face and make both young men fly off into the sea. I scoff as I clap my hands clean from imaginary dusts and put them on my hips. Serves you right. I told you to never call me that anymore. I huff and turn to look at Nami, who looks absolutely horrified and pale. She looks funny. Should we stay here for the night, or should we keep on going? How far is the next island? I ask Nami, who snaps her out and she walks up to her boat to check on her navigation stuff. Let's see here, the next island isn't that far off, and the sun is still high so we can still keep going. She calculates, we might arrive there by noon, if we hurry. Right. Oi, hurry up and come back here so we can immediately reach the next island for the day. I yell out towards the washed young men. You're the one who did this. I hear Zoro yell out from the sea, but I ignore him as I sit down and start to put an entry for the log. Eventually they reach the boat and we're off to continue our journey. Nami said that the next island is called Gecko Island, which I think is the home island of Usopp. It's been a while since the last time I dived deep into the series and wikis, so my memory won't be 100% accurate on things from now on. But I think I'm prepared for anything. Well, except for time. Time keeps on moving, and we can't spare a single second to waste. If only there's a way to stop the Sea of Time itself, but that's nearly impossible to do unless you're a god or a devil fruit user with the time power. Not that I want to eat one anyway. I ain't interested in eating some rotten flavored dubious fruit, thank you very much. Oi Aris, how long are you gonna keep thinking? We're here. I hear Luffy call me and I look up, finally realizing that we're finally ashore on an island, possibly Gecko Island, and the sun is still pretty high in the sky. I was thinking about devil fruit and how dumb DF users are for trading their ability to swim in a world filled with water just to be a superhuman. I say as I follow him and the others jumping off the boat. Eating a dubious rotten flavored fruit and losing your ability to survive in water doesn't seem worth it to me, especially if those people are sailors. I add with a smirk while Luffy pouts. Don't insult my Gomu Gomu no mi. I'll kick your ass one day with mine. Luffy exclaims and I snort in return. Yeah, good luck with that. Not even Ace can kick my ass after I come home from my training. I huff with a teasing smirk, unless your power can defile the very nature of the world itself, it would be hard to accomplish. Just you wait, I'm gonna get stronger and I will kick your ass. Luffy retorts back angrily. I'll give you 2 years to accomplish that. I reply back as I turn to look at him and offer him my pinky. If you manage to get much stronger on your DF power than you are now in 2 years, then I might go easy on you. Luffy just looks at my pinky and hooks his pinky around mine. I don't need to do this because I'm gonna get stronger anyway. He says with confusion on his face and I snicker in return. Then why are you hooking your pinky? I dunno. Sorry to interrupt your brotherly bonding. We both turn to look at Zoro, who thumbs up on a cliff, where a familiar face is looking down on us and seems curious on us, but we got company. He continues. We stare at Usopp, who's readying his pachinko to hit us with cold sweat and exuding anxiety out loud, before Luffy grins at him. Yo, you must be Usopp, right? Luffy asks and the long-nosed seems surprised by that. How did you know my name? He yells back. Usopp never shut up about you even if our ears are bleeding out. I reply, fondly remembering the times where Usopp literally just never shut up about Usopp, somehow able to give us different stories about him each time. That stops him from pulling a shot at us as he peers down at us in wonder and glee. My pops. You know about my pops? Usopp asks in excitement. Come down and we'll talk more. Your trio of egg buddies can join us too if they want. I tell him, glancing at the bushes at where the kids are and they seem startled by it. How did he manage to find out about us? I heard one of them whispering loudly. Maybe he's a witch. The other replies with the same voice tone. A sea witch and a pirate. The last one says in horror. Wow, they sure have a lot of imagination, huh? You three are right on the second one, but I'm not a witch. I tell them and that scares them even more. He can read our minds. Run. And they did, running off at the speed of sound and leaving Usopp behind, not minding his calls. In the end, Usopp showed us the way to his village's diner and we talked more about his dad, him being a sharpshooter of the infamous Akagami no Shanks, our piracy days that just started around a week or so ago, etc. While we ate and Usopp seems amazed by it all. Wow, I can't believe my dad joined such a great pirate as Akagami no Shanks. It makes me even prouder to be his son. Usopp announces with pride. I don't want to ruin his mood for calling his dad an absent parent, so I stay silent because I don't think he knows that his wife died. Yeah, he can shoot anything, no matter the distance. He's a great sharpshooter, Luffy says with a grin. I stop joining in the conversation after a while and just pipe in when any of them pulls me back into the conversation. I'm closing my eyes and focusing on reading the whole island and the area around it. It's not that hard to do nowadays, but it's super hard back in Marineford. It was very noisy, compared to this peaceful island. Let's see, there's one with malicious intent that got covered up really well by a mask, the weak one nearby, and the 3 vegetable kids. The rest are pretty healthy and quiet. There are groups of another malicious intent for a good distance away from the island, but they're mostly just bored. And finally, the ones a few inches away from me. Usopp and Nami are curiously watching me, Zoro is studying me, and while Luffy is busy stealing others' food and reaching in to steal mine. I quickly grab my spoon and stab it into the back of Luffy's approaching hand, ignoring his cries of pain as I open my eyes to look at the others. What? Are you sleepy? Usopp asks. We don't really have an inn though, it's a small island. Nah, I was just reading the island and the surroundings. I answer and he looks at me incredulously, but Nami cuts it off before it turns into another long-ass explanation. Anyway, do you have anyone here that knows how to sail or have a ship? Nami asks Usopp, who shakes his head. Well, as you can see, this is a small village, Usopp answers, gesturing his arms around to his village. Sorry but we can't really fulfill your request. I saw a mansion on top of that hill, you know. Zoro comments as he glances out from the window that Usopp is visibly nervous and immediately steps out of the booth with cold sweat. Don't go there, he exclaims out in panic, but realizes his blunder as we look at him with curious looks. Anyway, I have a sudden business to attend to, so eat as many as you want. It's all on me. And just like that, he grabs his bag and runs out of the diner. We just watch him run off before I turn to Luffy with a grin. It's all on him, he said. He's going to regret that. At that, he grins back and we eventually order more, happily eating and having a nice conversation until we get interrupted by the previous 3 kids suddenly entering the diner and announcing their entrance. Usopp pirates are here. We just look at them while the owner, who's reading the newspaper, barely gives them a glance as they quickly approach us and realize that Usopp isn't around. See, Captain Usopp isn't here. Hey pirates, where's Captain Usopp? What have you done to our captain? We just stare at them blankly while Luffy and Flame just belch out from their meals, and the kids just whip their heads toward them in horror, start to assume that they ate Usopp. I glance at Nami and Zoro with a mischievous glint and Zoro grins at them. If you want to know what happened to your captain, Zoro starts with a menacing grin. We already ate him, I continued with the same grin, and you guys will make a great vegetable soup. Their faces immediately go pale as a sheet before screaming in horror and fear at me. Sea witch. And they're about to bolt, but I quickly grab them by the back of their shirts and they scream louder. Nyehehey, relax, we didn't do anything to Usopp. He just left doing something. I explained to them in amusement. That stopped them from screaming their heads off and struggling. Oh, so that's why Captain isn't here. It's that time of the day again. It's a relief that he's okay. So what is he doing again? Nami asks curiously, he seemed to be in a hurry. So the veggies told us about Usopp's motive to lie on the lady of the mansion by the hill, Kaya, because she's sick and has had a weak body for the past year. I listen in on them in silence as we all decide to go join Usopp to see. Well, I suppose grief will do things to your mind, soul, and body, so no wonder she feels weak. The 3 of us felt the same back when Sabo was declared dead. We barely ate and both Luffy and me kept crying on
Yo, quick pause, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, share this video, and tell me in the comments which part you're loving the most.
Every little thing that reminded us about him. While Ace didn't show it, I know he sometimes was in a deep sadness and frustration that he let it out once in a while toward our dinners. He might be able to hide it well, but I can feel it exuded out from him once in a while. And I suppose Usopp also understands about it, so he tries his best to cheer Kaya up so she won't get drowned in it. Usopp is very kind. I comment with a smile, it's hard to pull yourself out from that darkness, after all. Not many people will do that, so I'm sure this Lady Kaya is forever grateful for his efforts. At that, the veggies grin widely at me and start to gush out about how cool their captain is. Out of the corner of my eye, I can feel Nami's gaze on me for a moment. Finally, we arrived at the front gate of the mansion. We can see that there are guards, well, guarding by the gate. But of course, Luffy being Luffy, decides that going in by launching himself inside is a good idea, so he does it and everyone who grabs onto him to stop him just gets launched along with him. I just watch them screaming their heads off in amusement before turning to Flame. Flamey, I need you to guard the coast where our boats are with Takao. Bad pirates are coming, but stay on guard. Don't attack anyone until we return. I order him and he huffs in return in understanding before he walks off while I jump into the air to join the others inside. I can see them crumpling and groaning on the ground next to a tree, so I land gracefully beside them with an amused smirk as Nami is screaming her head off to Luffy. I look up and see Usopp and Kaya are peering down in confusion and curiously, so I wave at them with a grin. Hey, you're that Lady Kaya, right? I heard you're sick and Usopp is trying to make you feel better. I greet her with a mock salute, name's Aris, and these are my friends. Sorry for barging in, my brother is being a dumbass like usual, so pay him no mind. I add, she mostly just looks stunned and pale before glancing to Usopp for answers before coming back to me. May I help you? She softly asks, you got any ship for us to use? We kinda need one because a small boat with more than 5 beings on it doesn't seem ideal for our seafaring days. I answered her. But before she can reply back, I feel someone is approaching us and both Luffy and me quickly turn to look at the direction. And sure enough, a very distinct butler with poop patterns on his suit and stupid striped shoes shows up, looking unamused and annoyed. Not only that, we both can feel that he's not an ordinary butler. You there. Just what in the world are you doing? The butler exclaims as he trots over us, you trespassed on private property, and I have to ask you to leave immediately. Oh look, a little black cat appears. I comment with a bored tone and I turn to look at Kaya. Oi lady, you need to train your hissy cat better. I tell her with a huff. He's not. Kaya is about to reply, but the butler cuts her off. You're bothering Lady Kaya and I don't know who you are, but if you don't leave immediately, I will have to escort you out. He growls with a stern glare. She is sick and needs to rest. He adds, are you isolating her away from her friends that make her feel better? I ask calmly, tilting my head, because if so, I would think that you want her to die. I will continue. He narrows his eyes in suspicion, but quickly changes it into annoyance as he turns to look at Usopp. Friends. Lady Kaya would never want to have friends with the child of a disgusting pirate. He scoffs. Really? Then let me ask her real quick. I turn to Kaya, what's your verdict about that opinion, Lady Kaya? Is your hissy cat correct or not? K. Clahador. That's enough, don't insult my friends. She tells her butler, especially not Usopp-san. Oh Lady Kaya, I'm sorry for my rudeness. The butler quickly apologizes, his voice suddenly becoming soft and gentle. Ew, it makes me wanna puke. I don't mean to upset you. I'm just worried for your well-being. It's alright, but please don't be rude to my friends. She softly adds, Kaya, my girl, you need to grow some balls. Then again, she's not right mentally and physically, so can't blame her. I can feel Usopp's anger slowly boiling when Clahador calls his pops, a disgusting pirate, as he jumps off from the tree branch and about to lug on the butler's face. I was thinking of stopping him, but I don't feel like taking the spotlight of him showing his balls, so I just watch him actually give him a punch to his chin. You Usopp-san. With that, Nami seems panicking a little before pulling me to whisper, why didn't you stop him? You know he's gonna do that, right? It's Usopp's business. It's his dad that got insulted, not mine, not that I have one. Besides, Luffy's judging him. I answered her with a shrug, besides, that poopy butler called for it for insulting him. He's lucky it's Usopp. If it's me and he insulted my friends, I'll kill him before he can finish it. That seems to stun her down while things are going down in the background, until eventually we get kicked out by the butler and Usopp stomps off to cool himself down. Well, that went well. I shrug it off with a smirk. I see Luffy is following after Usopp, so I leave him be as I turn to the others. Anyway, I'm going back to the boat. Got things to discuss with my boys. Bye. I jump into the air and travel off into the air, not noticing the amazed looks from the veggies. Once I arrive, I land nicely in front of the beasts and they're expecting me calmly. So, I clap my hands together and they sit straighter. Pirates are coming. Not now, but tomorrow at dawn into this small island. Their former captain is disguising himself as a butler here, and planning to kill the mistress of the mansion and make her sign a contract that he'll get the inheritance. We're not heroes, but letting smug assholes get what they want is the last thing I want, so let's crush them down. I explain with a grin. Takao, I want you to infiltrate their ship. If I remember correctly, they're a good distance away from this island. They have a black cat ship head. The current captain is a hypnotist with heart sunglasses. Once he's away, I want you to wreck the remaining members. Now go. Understood. And he flies off. Flame, I want you to stay and keep your eyes on the mansion. It's a boring task, but it's still important. Once that poopy butler is out of the mansion, I want you to enter it and accompany Kaya. She's weak and sickly, so try your best to lessen her strains and be gentle. He huffs and off he goes, leaving me behind by the boat. I stretch out and groan when the bones pop satisfyingly and I sit down. I reach into my satchel and take out my logbook to write down today's entry. The sun is almost at its lowest and possibly an hour or two will set soon, so I better write it down now before the sunlight is nowhere to help me and my brain decided to forget everything. Once I'm done and the sun is kissing the horizon, I think it's the right time to regroup back with the others. I put my things back inside my satchel and jump along to find the others. They're easy to find because they're just hanging around in the middle of the village. The veggies are nowhere to be seen, so I suppose the meeting between Django and Kuro is over. I harshly land behind of Usopp and he literally jumps into the air as terror while screeching out. Nami just facepalms while Zoro and Luffy just look amused and I grin at Usopp. Yo, anything fun happened? I ask him and glance at the injury on his forearm as he yelps in pain at the sudden movement. You're injured. You okay? I'm fine. A scratch for a sea warrior like me is nothing. Usopp boasts out and screeches out in pain when I slap his injured arm. Men and their pride. Eventually we went to the opposite coast and Nami dealt with Usopp's injury, because she said that just pouring a bottle of alcohol directly to the injury is a bad idea. I just scoffed and said that it's a waste of time and I got a slap on my head for that. There, that should be good enough. Nami announces with a smile and straightens up. Why didn't you tell them? Luffy asks, probably about whatever Usopp said to the kids. Because I'm a liar, Usopp answers and chuckles bitterly, they didn't even believe me from the start, but I guess that's my fault in the first place. Even so, truth is truth. Zoro argues back and he falls silent, staring down to his hands. The pirates are truly coming, right? Nami asks and Usopp nods firmly. Yeah, it's not wrong that they're coming to attack the village. But everyone thought that it's just another lie and that tomorrow is going to be another peaceful day like usual. Usopp grits his teeth in anger, not towards the villagers but towards the situation that will harm them. That's why I'm going to stop those pirates by myself and let them keep thinking that it's all just a lie. He exclaims out firmly. That's the only thing I can do as a liar. Doesn't matter if I got shot at or driven away, I'm still one of the villagers. I love this village and I want to protect them all. He cries out. Hearing that, I can feel the others respect Usopp and start to get themselves ready to help him. What an idiotically kind guy, for letting your subordinates go and enter the war zone by yourself. Zoro grins and puts his hand on his katanas. Just so you know, their treasures are mine. Nami says firmly while making her usual money gesture. But you're dumb if you think that we're gonna let you fight by yourself. I start with a huff and cross my arms. So we're gonna help you out. Luffy finishes while stretching out and cracking his knuckles. Usopp seems surprised by it, considering we barely know each other and practically strangers that he wonders out loud to us. I mean, I don't need to use my kanbun to know that you're basically shaking in your boots. I tell him and he seems offended by that and he quickly stands on his feet. Me. Scared. I've never been scared of anything in my life. That's because I'm Captain Usopp, the brave sea warrior. Usopp denies, but the way his legs are shaking like a leaf tells otherwise and he hits them in frustration before lashing out at us, as so what if I'm scared? Our opponent is that fearsome Clawhador pirate, you know. We get it, but you don't have to lash out at us. Zoro replies, we're helping not because of pity, we do so because we want to. Who wants to sacrifice their lives just for a pity anyway? Luffy scoffs out, obviously slightly offended that Usopp would think so. Besides, it's okay to be scared. It's a normal human reaction. I assure him with a smile. We're not heroes, we're just your friendly neighborhood pirates and you just happen to be our friend. You need help, and we'll offer it. It's as simple as that. Usopp looks at us dumbfounded before tears form again and trickling out. Newfound respect and awe can be sensed from him before he cries out while jumping at me and hugging me tight because I'm the closest to him. I quickly try to push his face away in disgust because his snot and tears are not what I need at the moment. Let go of me this instant or I will crush your balls. I screech out, I haven't got my bath for days and I don't need your snot and tears adding the uncleanliness. I add while the others are just laughing their asses off. Eventually Usopp lets me go and we start talking about our plan to stop the pirates. I was half listening in as I put my attention somewhere else. It seems like that butler is on the move, but he's still in the mansion. Flame is still on standby nearby but nowhere near the mansion, and that's good. I don't want that stupid butler to harm my baby. What can you guys do? I heard Usopp ask and I turned to look at him. Cutting, Zoro, stretching, Luffy, stealing, Nami, punching, me, and I'm hiding. Usopp, you need to fight too. Luffy, Zoro, and Nami scream out while putting him in a headlock, and I just shake my head at it. Jay joking. I'm joking. Usopp surrenders and Luffy lets him go. Anyway, we need a lot of oil to set the trap on this hill, so they can slip and are unable to move forward. He elaborates as he continues walking towards the village. But are you sure it's going to work? I ask and he stops to look at me in confusion. I mean, sure, they met up here, but are you sure the rest of the crew will be here too? If it's me, I would just make my crew enter the island through the other entrance to make it less obvious. I explained to him. Well, we don't know for sure about that, so we have to put our faith in it. Usopp replies, suddenly unsure with his plan. How about this, there are 4 of you, so 2 people stay here, and the other on the other entrance. That way, we can cover both grounds and if they actually show up at one of them, I can be the delivery guy to take the other ones to the enemies. At that, Usopp looks even more confused. How are you gonna do that? I jump and kick the air as I keep myself to float before zipping around him in an instant to answer his question. He gapes his mouth and his eyes are bulging wide in awe while I puff out my chest in pride. Amazing. You can teleport in the air. Is that magic? It's just a martial art that's exclusively for Marines and World Government's special agents, but I asked my gramps to teach it to me so I can make them suffer using their own weapon. It was hell. I tell him with a dead-eyed smile and he gulps nervously. Alright, so you'll be our cavalry and messenger. Usopp nods and looks at the others with a slight nervous smile. Well, we have plenty of hours until dawn, so we should get some rest and get ready. We all nod and do so, by making a small camp at the cliff and forages whatever we can get our hands on for our emergency camping meals. We managed to find some fruits and edible mushrooms, but Usopp refused to even touch the shrooms. Well, more for us then. After all of these are done, I want a good, hot bath and crates full of food. I comment as I chew on my mushrooms. Same, I'm starting to stink and icky. Nami agrees as she grimaces at her own body. I'll ask that rich lady to lend us her baths after this. I add, we took a nap for a good few hours and managed to wake up before the sun was rising. It's still dark, but I'm sure it's around 4 a.m. Just like the plan, the group got split into 2 groups, Nami, Usopp, and me at the actual slope where the pirates will show up, and both Zoro and Luffy are at the other one. But considering I'm basically the delivery guy, I stayed at the top of the slope. But I'm pretty sure we don't really need it to kick the other pirates' asses. I just need to grab Luffy to deal with that poopy butler and that's that. Are you sure those 2 are gonna be okay? Usopp asks me, probably talking about Luffy and Zoro, our opponents will be real pirates. Well, compared to you both now, they're like 10x stronger than both of you combined, so I'd say don't worry about it. I shrug and give him a gentle slap on his back. Besides, I still have more plans under my non-existent sleeves, so don't worry too much about this. Really? Are you even that strong? He asks with pure curiosity. Hearing that, I give him a toothy, sadistic grin. Maybe, but I know damn well that I fight dirty. He visibly gulps in response, probably thinking that maybe today is definitely not those pirates' day. After about an hour and the sky starts to get brighter, we finally see a seemingly empty pirate ship approaching along with a familiar bluebird approaching. I grin as I raise my arm to let Takao perch on it, not minding Usopp's odd expression. So, did you do it? I ask Takao as he's preening his feathers. Yes, I managed to weaken them enough to not be able to fight much, but I left the hypnotist and 2 other members alone. Takao answers calmly, both of us ignoring Usopp's shocked reaction. I nod with a smile. Good job. Now go and grab both Luffy and Zoro, the enemies are here. I order him and he nods before taking off to the south. I turn to Usopp, that's Takao. He ate a devil fruit. He's my baby. But enough about that, we have guests incoming. I announce when the pirate ship is finally ashore and some of the pirates climb out of the ship. They look worse for wear, so they won't be a big deal to the weakling duo. I'm staying behind for a backup, so you guys can deal with them. I tell them as I sit down on the ground and both of them widen their eyes. What? I thought you're gonna help. Nami screams out in disbelief as she turns to me. I ain't helping those who won't help themselves. I stoically answer as I lounge back, show me your fighting will, to fight for others and for yourself. I continue sharply. Usopp seems to understand the point, but Nami is still conflicted. I just stare at her calmly and sigh. Maybe I'm too hard on her. If you ask me for help, I will help. I assure her and she hardens up at that before turning around to face forward. I don't need your help. She replies curtly, her hands gripping her staff tightly that her knuckles are white. I just shrug when Usopp gives me a questioning look, but he quickly faces forward again when the pirates are slowly approaching and he readies his slingshot. Hisatsu Namari Boshi. Usopp manages to hit plenty of them down, and I grin deviously when the downed pirates are groaning in pain and seemingly unable to push themselves up again, while the rest of the pirates seem annoyed and especially the hypnotist guy. Good going, Usopp. Nami praises with a pat on his back, and Usopp puffs up his chest in pride. Nothing can get past Captain Usopp's brilliant sharpshooting ability. He boasts out and I have to agree. He has amazing eyesight despite not having Kanbun to help him. I wish he had more confidence in his skills. While both of them are boasting around, the rest of the pirates are getting closer and closer to us. Not to ruin the party, but the fight isn't over yet. I remind them as I keep my eyes on the pirates. Oh, they look pissed. Keep your eyes on them, unless you want them to take advantage of you. Alright, Usopp shoots plenty of them down again, and I see the hypnotist guy is getting angry and scared. Hypnotist guy starts to order the pirates to hurry up unless they want the poopy butler to kill them all. That seems to light the fire inside them to push them to do their job properly, and they march on with fighting cries. Desperation and the will to live, those two aren't the best combination for the end result. They're getting desperate. Careful, I warn them as I pull my knee to my chest and rest my arm there as they nod and brace for the incoming attacks. At the same time, I can feel Takao is flying closer with the boys in tow before actually dropping them down from the air and unceremoniously landing right between the incoming pirates and us. Nyahahaha. Good job, Takao. I burst out laughing and bringing up my arm for him to perch on. They're far heavier than flame. Takao huffs unhappily and starts preening himself. Takao, you damn bird head, I'm gonna cut you up and turn you into a chicken fillet. Zoro yells out with his katanas unsheathed, and Takao just rolls his eyes. I'd like to see you try, mosshead. He retorts back. Well, that's two down, one more job to do. Be Flame's backup. He's at the mansion. I order him as I push myself up to my feet. He nods and he flies off again while Usopp seems confused. The mansion? What's with the mansion? He asks, both curious and worried about Kaya. Poopy Butler is coming. He didn't hurt Kaya, yet. But he attacked a butler there. I answer him as I dust my pants, ignoring the boys' battle cries and the pirates' pained screams as the two are attacking them all. Usopp widens his eyes while I grin. Told you I have a lot of plans under my non-existent sleeves, didn't I? And I will fight dirty because I'm a pirate. Why you, that's amazing. Are you secretly a genius? He praises and I just grin and puff out my chest in pride. Geez, I don't get plenty of compliments, but I like this shower of praises. Makes me feel amazing. Yeah, I know I'm great. I huff with a smug grin as I bring my leg up and grab his overalls, but we're still in the middle of a fight, so try to focus. I warn him and swing my leg as I pull him down, releasing a sharp wind projectile towards one of the pirates that managed to slip by the other boys. The pirate lets out a pained scream in return as he collapses, unconscious. Thanks. Usopp quickly got back on his feet to face the enemies and readied his slingshot. Suddenly the wind breezes over from beyond the forest to us in a warning, and I can see from my peripheral vision that Luffy can feel the same as we both glance at each other and nod. Luffy quickly deals with the rest of the still standing pirates while I turn to the weakling duo. Poopy Butler is coming. Nami, go deal with your treasure. Luffy and Zoro will protect you. Usopp, stay around with me, but don't do anything rash. I order them, and while Nami doesn't seem happy that I'm ordering her around, she cares for her treasure so she begrudgingly obeys while Luffy and Zoro indeed protect her ass from Django and the Catmen duo called Nyaban or something. That Clawhador is coming. Usopp asks and I nod. Yeah, the wind gave us a warning. I explain and he looks confused, but before he can ask more questions, the said butler finally arrives at the scene and he's definitely not happy that his joke of a pirate band is being what they are, a joke. And his joke of a pirate band is definitely sweating bullets right about now, and I can even feel the contrasting aura from both sides. I can just grin giddily while Usopp audibly gulps in fear and anxiety. Nami managed to arrive safely to her boat, so all is well. I can feel Luffy is calmly observing the situation and learning from it. It's a good lesson for him to be a good captain, so I'm not going to be in the way. I can't believe these kids are giving you trouble. I guess Kuroniko Pirate has truly stooped down to their lowest point. Poopy Butler comments as he lets his bag go and his claws clink against each other. Isn't that right, Django? Django the hypnotist pales up and sweats bullets. But didn't you order us yourself to not deal with these kids? He counters back. Yes, I did tell you that. What of it? It shouldn't be a problem for you. Poopy Butler readjusts his glasses using the heel of his palm calmly. But one thing I didn't predict is how much cowardice all of you have. Oh, our cowardice, Django starts, but gets cut off by the Nyaban brothers or whatever their name is. They seemed pissed enough to stop their fights against Zoro. Who are you calling a coward? Watch your mouth, Captain Kuro. It's true that you're strong, but that's 3 years ago. Unlike you, we don't laze around in a peaceful village. The thin, green-haired one protests. I think his name is Sam or something. Can't bother to remember. That's right. It's uncountable how many towns we attacked and pirate ships we sank. The fat, cow-like one continues. What do you mean? Poopy Butler asks calmly, as if they just told him their favorite colors and he's looking at them like they're just a bunch of idiots, which is pretty accurate I guess. While you're lazing around, it's impossible for you to beat us, the Nyaban brothers. And they quickly run up towards the butler, not heeding Django's warnings while I grab Usopp and jump to the side. I see that butler grabs his bag again to take out and wears his claws in a blink of an eye, while dodging the brothers' synchronized attack as silent as a cat to stand behind them with his claws unsheathed. It's hard to follow if you're a normal guy, but I can see it as clear as my vision without the whatever vision illnesses I got back in my homeworld. Still glad that my myopia is gone, which means I can disguise myself using glasses when the time needs me to do so. Oh whoops, I need to focus on the problem at hand. You okay, Usopp? I ask the long-nosed teen, and he nods gratefully while I can feel him trembling in fear. Okay, good. I turn to look at the scene before us as the cat brothers turn around to attack the butler again, but again he dodges and starts walking around silently and quickly. I forgot that technique name, something about cat's feet. Eventually, the butler stops right behind the brothers and puts his arms on their shoulders, with his claws pointing in their open mouths. I suppose you're right, the butler eventually says, I do feel a little sluggish these days. Yeah, I can see that. He's a little slower than I thought he would be. Even Luffy can easily see him. I guess his weird shoes are a pretty good factor for that silent feet movement thing. Can't say I'm surprised, because I don't wear shoes for the same reason. Oi Aris, you're saying it out loud again. I hear Luffy call out. I did. I turn to Usopp, who nods in return. Well, I guess I did. I shrug. Luckily, the main baddies don't give a damn about it. Still, the way he adjusts his glasses with the heel of his palm reminds me of the way I did mine when I ate using my hands. Ain't gonna dirty my glasses with dirty hands, after all. That, or he just finished eating chicken wings. Either way, he looks stupid. Anyway, Poopy Butler and the cat bros are talking around until Poopy Butler withdraws his arms and circles back to where he stood before, saying that he gave those 5 minutes to finish us all before he takes it with his own hands. With that, the crews go as pale as a sheet of paper in desperation to live bloom in their eyes. I just let out a sigh as the cat brothers run back to Zoro, who easily slashes them away using his Santoryu while Luffy keeps his eyes on the Poopy Butler. I can feel Kaya's weak presence walking closer, together with Takao and Flame's fiery tempest presences and the three vegetables. Usopp, Kaya is coming. I warned him when the big cat guy asked Django to hypnotize him, and he did. Takao and Flame are with her, along with your vegetable friends, so I'm not worried for her safety. But don't do anything rash. Kaya is. We need to take her away from here. Usopp replies in a panic and about to bolt off, but I quickly grab his overalls. Oh, the big cat guy is getting stronger because of the hypnosis. Nyehehey, Zoro is going to be in deep shit. This is getting more fun. Relax, she'll be fine. Besides, she needs a figurative slap to wake her up from the lies that the Poopy Butler gave her. I calm him down with a smirk, let her stand on her own feet, so she can take care of herself for herself. Usopp is troubled, but seems to understand my point even though he doesn't agree with it. I won't push you to listen to me. Just do whatever you think is right. You're braver than you think. I continue with a slap on his back. He winces in return. And sure enough, Kaya is running closer towards the Poopy Butler. Even so, he doesn't seem to notice that it's Kaya that he's about to attack her. I quickly sicked Ed to him and kicked him away into the forest before his attack could reach Kaya, while Usopp tackled her down to dodge it. Huh, and here I thought you'll dodge my attack. I guess I'm faster than your cat's feet thing. I comment as I fiddle with my gauntlets. Poopy Butler slowly rises back up and I can feel that he's absolutely pissed. You're that brat. Clawhador spats and I grin in return. Yep, it's me, but I'm not the one that will fight you. You're too weak for me. I reply as I stretch out and he raises his eyebrow in question. I'm not interested in fighting you. I only have my eyes on bigger fish. I add as I think of Arlong and company. They'll be the actual hard ones to deal with. Weak, what makes you think that? He asks calmly. You're a coward who didn't commit to consequences. That is what makes you weak in my eyes. I answer, still with a grin. I don't know much about your story, but from what I gather, you gave up your piracy life because you don't like how the Marines are always on your ass and you're a goddamn idiot to not see the obvious consequence for becoming a pirate. Even that hypnotist Michael Jackson guy is smarter than you. I continue, thumbing Django who's pale as a sheet. I see. Then I suppose you won't be thinking that any longer. He smirks as he readies his claws and does his catwalk thing to get closer to me silently and swiftly, and I easily see his movements and move away to dodge his attacks. I told you I'm not interested in a weakling like you. I tell him with an annoyed huff and quickly jump into the air, keeping myself afloat a good few feet away from him. But I'll entertain you if you want. After all cats need their playtime so they won't be bored enough to commit a genocide. I tease him with a chuckle. That brat is flying. What the hell is happening? He survived Captain Kuro's attacks. But before Clawhador can reply, Kaya cuts him off. Please stop this, Clawhador. I'll give you all of my inheritance, but please leave this place alone. Kaya says firmly and Poopy Butler's whole demeanor softens immediately. I thank you for the offer, Lady Kaya. He starts as he closes his eyes and adjusts his glasses, but there is one thing you should know, and that is I long for a peace of mind. Peace of mind. Yes, all I want is just a simple peace. I found comfort on the villagers, kindness in these 3 years, and there is another one I also long for other than that. That's why I will get that peace and your inheritance by making the pirates attack the village and you will leave your will. Those two things should be granted for me to get what I want. He explains with a sadistic grin. Ain't he a true manipulator, saying that real smooth without a beat. What a great liar, this one. Kaya takes out a gun and points it to Klahadore, telling him to leave while he just calmly looks at it and says creepy shit like she grew up finally in 3 years while taking off one of his claws and starts reminiscing the old days to pull Kaya's kind heartstrings before he immediately yanks on them by telling her that he's glad that he finally can kill her for making him stoop low enough to be a mere butler. Usopp immediately grabs the discarded gun and aims it at him in anger, but Poopy Butler easily dodges it and stands behind Usopp. Claws are back on his hand and cages Usopp's head between them while talking about the punch he gave him the day before. I take a glance at Luffy, who's starting to get pissed off at Klahadore's manipulative behavior before he pulls his coated fist back real far. I just grin giddily when the fist pulls back and is aimed at the butler's face. Thankfully, Klahadore is too busy dealing with Kaya and Usopp that Luffy's fist easily connects to his ugly mug. If getting a punch pissed you off, how about I give another 100 just for you? Luffy challenges with a grin as his arm retracts back to him. I don't need to see that Klahadore is absolutely losing his shit at Luffy, and even more so when the vegetable kids are beating the shit out of him using unconventional weapons like a frying pan, a small shovel, and a baseball bat. While everyone is losing their shits and panicking over them and Klahadore being absolutely furious enough to go rampant to everyone here, Takao and Flame are blankly watching them and I'm not impressed by their inaction. Takao, Flame, grab them. I order them and they immediately move to grab 2 of them while I grab the onion one away from Klahadore. We threw them a good few meters away and I turned around with my leg out to deliver a sharp wind projectile at Klahadore, who's up and about to attack Usopp. Impressively, he manages to dodge it and looks at me sharply. I look back with a glare as I put myself between him and the kids, with Takao and Flame following next to me. He lets out a scoff and turns back forward to look at Luffy. Good, he's occupied with him. I turn to look at Usopp with a silent message to deal with the kids, and it takes him a few seconds to get it. You 3, hurry up and take Kaya away from here. Protect her. Usopp orders the kids, who snap out of it and quickly back on their feet to gather Kaya up. They quickly pull her up and away from the place, not minding her weak protests as they walk past me. And then the Poopy Butler turns to look at me. And you're also a devil fruit user, aren't you? Klahadore asks and I roll my eyes. Unlike Luffy, I'm not. What I did is just a form of martial arts I learned. I still love swimming, thank you very much. I answered him. I can't blame him though. Not many people here know Rokushiki, after all. I see. Then I will deal with you after I deal with him. He finalizes as he turns back forward. Django. You deal with Lady Kaya and those 3 pests. I will deal with that freak kid. Just like we planned, make her write her will and then kill her. Understood. Django replies as he starts walking up the hill, but I zoom myself up to him and strike him on his gut, making him fly back down to the bottom of the hill. Sorry MJ copycat, but no one is allowed to be up here, unless they want to die. I say in a sing-song tone and an innocent smile, Oi Luffy. Hurry up and deal with the Poopy Butler. The sooner you deal with the leader, the sooner we can eat breakfast. I told him. Luffy immediately perks up at the mention of breakfast, and that motivates him further than anything else as he grabs on the cliff sides and pulls himself further behind, readying himself for rocket. Yosh, get ready, stupid butler. I'm gonna kick your ass. Luffy exclaims out before launching himself to Klahadore, who steps aside to miss him. I quickly jump behind as the big cat guy roars and starts blindly attacking me. Zoro quickly deals with him before I deal with him. He's mine, Zoro simply says and I just shrug, walking past them towards the rest of the still conscious crew members, ignoring the way the big guy is wrecking the place up. Alright, it's my turn to play. Who's wanna be my playmate? I ask playfully, just like a little kid asking the other kids to play a game. If the said game is called the game of life and death, that is. But they just scream out in fear and start crawling away, down to the bottom of the hill into their ship. Meh, how boring. A great idea pings into my head as I put my clenched fist on my palm and walk down to the ship. I jump up and take myself aboard to the Black Cat ship head. I was thinking of cutting this ship up into a useless pile of wood, but I changed my mind. Maybe it's not really a good idea and I blame my brain. Even so, I grab on the cat head and rip it off the base before throwing it into the sea. And then I continue on with the railings while humming happily. That's when the crew members finally realize what I'm doing. He's ripping our ship apart. Hurry up and get him. We need the ship to stay intact. While ignoring the hectic situations that are currently happening, I keep on picking the ship apart little by little. I ripped off the rope ladder too, so none of those idiots can climb up to put a stop to my shit. I'm not gonna destroy the ship, but just enough to cause plenty of inconvenience for them in the future. Ripping the doors and windows off from the frames, making holes on the floors and deck here and there, and breaking the sail frames into halves. Basically wrecking the ship just enough to not immediately make it sink into the bottom of the ocean. Once I'm done, I nod to myself for my artwork. Nice work, me. All I need to do now is dispose of the garbage into the bin. I grin and jump off of the ship right in the middle of the Black Cat crew members. I grab one of them and throw him aboard, ignoring his scream. I keep on doing the same to the rest of them until no one is left except for Clahador, but he's special. I don't remember where I make Django fly off, but he won't be that much of a threat by himself anyway, so I leave him be. Okay guys, you better stay aboard unless you wanna get blasted off like Django. I warn them with a grin when I see them trying to jump back down, and that stops them from their tracks with shivers. Good. Time to send them off. Putting my legs apart and feet deep into the sand, I put my hands on the ship and start to push the ship off the shore with a heavy grunt, while letting Demos cut the anchor off from the ship before it returns back into my gauntlet. It's hard and the ship is absolutely heavy, but little by little the ship starts to move back into the watery shore. I keep on going until the water is deep to my hips, and I give it one last strong push that the ship is fully back on the sea. And at the same time, Luffy managed to beat Clahador up to half dead and threw him over to the deck of the ship, along with the cat brothers. Leave and never come back, or I'll beat you up again. Luffy exclaims out loudly, and I can feel the intensity and the anger from him. I can feel the fear blooming from the crew members as they're panicking over Clahador and their wrecked ship, but eventually manage to sail away. I walk back to the dry side of the shore and stretch out. Finally, we can go get ourselves breakfast now. Nyeheheheh. I laugh and I can hear Nami letting out an exasperated sigh while rolling her eyes from her boat, with a new sack of treasure in her pile. In the end, you guys only think of food, huh? Nami shakes her head as she approaches me. And what was that about? Why did you wreck their ship anyway? She asks in confusion. Well, they need a ship so they can leave, but I still want to make them suffer for planning on attacking the village, so I wrecked their ship. I answer easily, after all, I'm not a cruel pirate, unlike that poopy butler. We just want to be free, not wrecking shit up. I add as I walk away, approaching Luffy uphill. I can feel Nami looking at me with an unreadable expression before looking into the horizon and following along. In the end, the whole thing ends nicely with no big casualties. Almost no one gets banged up that bad, and everyone is pretty much alive, so it's a good win for us this time. Mary is also alive, thanks to Takao's first aid, and Kaya pretty much offers us a place to rest up to save her in the village. Me, of course, not gonna refuse a free meal and a free bath, along with a free bed for me to take a nap. I let out a sigh as I submerge my body into the hot bath water, while I can see both Takao and Flame are also enjoying the luxury. Fucking yes, I've been craving for this for weeks. The next day, Kaya calls us all and says that she has a gift for us. We follow her along to the same shore where the fight happened yesterday, and there she is in all of her glory and cuteness of a ship called Going Merry. The others are amazed by her while I'm just excited to explore the very interior of the ship. She's bigger than I thought she would be, and I can't imagine how bigger Thousand Sunny will be compared to Mary. It's a caravel, Nami excitedly announces. Are you sure that it's for us? Luffy asks Kaya and Mary the butler. He looks alive and well, despite the fact that he was left for death before, and that's a relief. Yes, I insist. Kaya answers with a smile. She also looks far better than yesterday. She did say that her grief and mental instability made her weak and prone to illnesses, so it's nice to see her finally being alive and not having the soul of a zombie. And then Mary the butler starts to explain some shit about Going Merry, about her model, how he designed her, and how she'll operate. Both Luffy and me are about to spiral into confusion land if Nami didn't save us from the incoming headache to take it upon herself for the knowledge. While Luffy is commenting on the ship head of Mary's and Kaya is talking more to him, I decided to actually start exploring the ship. Taking myself up and landing on the deck, I start to walk around and check the place up. The ship is definitely bigger and more spacious than I thought it's gonna be. Considering my sense of scale is almost non-existent, this is a welcome surprise. Running and jumping around the place, I noticed that a big boulder thing was rolling down the hill towards us. I lean on the railing and just watch the scene as Zoro and Luffy stop it using their feet on Usopp's face, laughing a bit at it. Eventually, Usopp and Kaya are having a nice, private conversation about Usopp's future plans to follow his dad's seafaring choice. I just watch both Kaya and Usopp talking at the rear deck of the ship while the others are boarding the ship and do the same. You three better take care. We'll meet again one day. Usopp bids us off and Luffy tilts his head in question. Why? He asks and Usopp himself seems confused with that. Why? Well, that's because I'm gonna be an actual pirate, so we'll meet again in this vast sea someday. Usopp explains and even Zoro is rolling his eyes in annoyance. Stop talking nonsense and climb aboard. Zoro tells him with his no-nonsense attitude while pointing at the ship and Usopp seems dumbfounded by that. We're already Nakamas, aren't we? Luffy points out easily, as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. Usopp just stares at us in disbelief and seems to be at a loss for words. He looks at each of us and silently asks if we're serious, and we just grin and nod in return. Then, I'll be the captain, right? Don't be ridiculous. I'm the captain, ya hear me? Everyone laughs at it while I just roll my eyes and smile a bit. I know that it's a recurring thing of Usopp claiming the captain's seat, but I'll let it slide as long as it's not too intrusive and too bold that it's making anybody uncomfortable, and especially to Luffy. After all of the goodbyes and see you later to Kaya and Mary the butler, we finally set sail and get comfortable with our new home. I take a nice rest by the front deck after Nami fusses with us to sail the ship a few minutes before and having a small celebration over Usopp as the new crew member, and I take out my logbook and my writing equipment. I start writing down the events from before and adding small doodles in to give extra oomph for the log. I smile as I listen to Luffy and Usopp excitedly running around and exploring the ship, together with Flame following them around. Nami and Taka are having a conversation about navigational stuff, while Zoro is taking a nice nap nearby. The tickling breeze brushes over me, teasing me and urging me to join the trio while I just roll my eyes with a smile. I'll join them after this. I whisper back softly, and the wind brushes over me gently in return and back to gather around Luffy again. I continue writing down the log and quickly finishing it, so I can join the others exploring the ship again. The wind always has a special fondness towards Luffy, so I can't blame it for being excited when Luffy is that excited. I suppose I should hurry before Luffy himself pulls me along to explore. Disclaimer: this story do not belong to me. The author is The Chronicle by ThiefofStealth. Chapter 34 Updated. A few hours of sailing with our new ship, I'm already dying of boredom as usual. I was just watching Luffy designing our pirate flag and just looking at it in amusement while Usopp is acting up and having that piracy high thing, and then complaining that we should at least show enthusiasm for our new pirate life. I can't blame him, but piracy life is like 70% just drifting on the sea with no excitement, so he can't blame us for not being enthusiastic. Done. Luffy announces loudly that it scared Usopp up a bit as he picks up the flag and turns to show it to the others. Look. It's our pirate flag. Usopp joined us and now we're a group of 7, so we need to make our pirate flag. He proudly presents while the others look conflicted as they look at the said symbol of fear. That's our flag. Zoro is in disbelief and I can say that I'm not surprised by that. Yeep. Luffy grins widely and brightly. He looks so proud of himself. Calling him artistically challenged would be an understatement, Usopp comments while gaping widely. A pirate's flag should be the Jolly Roger of death, but this flag is, well, I guess it's quite terrifying in a sense. Zoro points out, crossing his arms, and I can see from his eyes that he's starting to regret his decision to follow Luffy. Well, I can say that I feel a little scared, but mostly because of his drawing. Nami adds in with her hand on her chin. I did tell him to let me do the drawing, but he refused because, and I quote, he's the captain. I snicker with a smirk. His drawing skills never changed from a decade ago. I add, and then Usopp tisking and waving his pointer. You should have discussed it with me first. Just so you know, I'm also an artist. He says with a proud grin. An artist? I already have 50 years of experience on murals. When there's an art contest, it's not wrong that I will be victorious. Usopp is surprisingly very confident with that, and it makes me happy that he's proud of himself like that. He needs to believe in his own talents more. Amazing. 50 years. Luffy. That means you should have been an old man. Zoro. Not only that, he should have around 5 of 6 grandchildren. Nami. That's also amazing. Luffy again. Oi. Usopp did a backhand and we all just snicker from teasing Usopp and his lies, and also for Luffy believing his shits. Usopp eventually did the drawing for the Jolly Roger, but he ended up making his own Jolly Roger. Luffy and Zoro gave him a hit on the back of his head for that, and he finally took it seriously. Usopp used the actual design from Luffy's original design, but made it better and more polished. I spot the abandoned, original one that got thrown away in a corner and pick it up. Do you mind if I keep this one? As a memento. I ask Luffy and he grins. Sure, you can keep it. Luffy replies before turning back to Usopp, telling him to draw the mainsail too. I just smile and untie my sash, replacing it with the failed Jolly Roger and tying it like beach sarong wrap around my hips, while I tie the sash around Flame's neck into a lopsided bow instead. He doesn't seem to protest and just yawns lazily, so he basically approved his current fashion. For the next couple of hours, we just watch Usopp painting the mainsail with the finalized design of our Jolly Roger, and once it's done, talk outside our finished pirate flags and Luffy is practically shining ecstatically. Alright, it's done. With this, our pirate ship Going Merry is ready for action. Luffy announces brightly, as bright as the sun itself. I'd say, we're officially a pirate now. I nod with a grin, all we need is Luffy getting his first bounty, and we're good. What do you mean? You already have. Oh, I quickly run up to Luffy and give him an uppercut, stopping him mid-sentence, and I calmly walk away as he safely lands on his feet. Oi Iris, what gives? Luffy fumes in annoyance, uninjured because I didn't use Buso to uppercut him. Don't spill shits you're not supposed to, dumbass. I huff with a sharp glare, and that seems to shut him up. Good. It's not the right time for the others to know. They're too weak, it's unnecessary to endanger them. And just like I predicted, I get 3 pairs of curious eyes and I silently curse Luffy and his either idiocy or naivety. I sharply turn to look at them and raise my eyebrow. What? I snap, and both Usopp and Nami quickly look away and start to do whatever they're doing, while Zoro keeps his eyes on me for a few seconds longer before he shrugs and lays down to take a nap. This time, I turned to Luffy, who's actually sulking on his special seat. I let out a sigh and walked up to him, my back leaning on the railing. Don't do anything rash, Luffy. We're still in East Blue and our crew is still small and weak. Maybe you and I are strong, but until when are we going to jump headfirst and kill everyone but us? I know you're bad at keeping secrets, but try to keep this one in until we're in paradise. You're our captain, we will follow your orders, but try to be wise about this. Luffy didn't say anything in return, but I know he's listening, so we're good. Okay, it's lunchtime. What do you guys want to eat? I ask as I walk up and lean down to look at the others on the lower deck. Meat, Luffy immediately announces, and I roll my eyes at that. Captain. I reply with an amused smile. I want rice. Zoro. I'm fine with anything. Nami. I want fish. Usopp. Okay, I'll do my best to satisfy everyone, but I'm no cook, so bear with me. I tell them as I jump across to the other deck and enter the kitchen meeting room. As I stand in front of the kitchen, I brace myself for the incoming battle. I'm not that good of a cook, but I know how to mix and match between ingredients, so I'm sure it'll be decent enough for the others until we get ourselves a cook. Once the food is done and everyone is gathered by the dining table, all of us minus Usopp are bracing for the next battle of eating while Usopp is looking at us weirdly. But before he can ask, Luffy's inhumanly fast hands immediately grab his food and shove it into his mouth, leaving Usopp to notice it a little too late. Wah, oi Luffy. Don't steal my food, you bastard. Usopp exclaims out in annoyance as he tries his best to defend his food, but alas, Luffy is far too fast for him. The rest of us are just eating our food in silence smugly while doing our best to defend our food from Luffy's grabby hands. All in all, lunchtime is pretty normal and it's peacefully boring after that. Boring enough for Luffy trying out the ship cannon to hit the nearby coral reef, but I quickly put his plan down. There are people there. I say out loud and turn to Nami, we should go and check on them. They could be in danger. Really now? Is this one of your detection superpower speaking? She asks with her brow raised as she's lounging on her lounging seat and reading the papers, maybe a little sarcastic if I don't know any better. Sure is. Let's go there. I ask and give her my best impression of Luffy's puppy eyes, and she just gives me an unimpressed, half-lidded look before rolling her eyes. Fine. And then she starts giving orders for us to sail our ship to the coral reef. Except for Zoro, who's still fast asleep, and I'm tempted to kick his head for both his Kanbun training and revenge for not helping us. Once we're close enough, we manage to spot a small boat roped to the rocks, a half-dead man, and a lively man that's brandishing his sword at us. Leave us alone, pirates. Or I will make you pay if you disturb us. The lively man in sunglasses and the word, "See," tattooed on his cheek hisses, while we just watch him silently. Should we really help this guy? Pretty sure his friend is a goner too. Usopp whispers to me and I shrug. I mean, we don't have to, but there's no harm in helping a future confidant. Oi, sunglasses man, you okay? Need any help? I ask him calmly and glance at his dying friend. Your friend is dying. I add and he bristles. Silence, pirate scum. Leave us alone or I will end your life. He exclaims out, and Luffy of all people laughs in response. Good luck ending Aris' life. He laughs hard enough that he slaps the railing, while the others just watch him blankly. I mean, he can try his best, but I doubt he can get anywhere closer to me. Well, ain't that rude? Relax my dude, we're just offering you some help for your friend, is all. I try again, but dude just not budging a bit. Leave us alone, you fucking pirates. He yells out as he grabs a pebble and throws it at me. I let it hit me square on my forehead, ow, and just stared at the guy, unimpressed. Meanwhile, I can feel Luffy is actually fearing for the poor guy's life, while Nami and Usopp are just concerned either for me or the guy, I don't know, while looking back and forth on me and the guy. That kinda hurt, you know. I calmly say with a huff, gently rubbing on the slowly bruising spot. But before it can escalate further, I hear Zoro is finally waking up and actually checking on whatever shit is happening at the moment. What the hell are you guys so noisy about? Zoro asks and yawns while scratching on his stomach, and everyone turns to look at him. Some pirate hunter is picking on Aris, while his friend is busy dying. Nami answers with a shake of her head and an unimpressed look. You think it's your pirate hunter buddies? I ask him instead, thumbing on the said guy. Zoro raises his brow in question as he walks up next to me and peers down to look before his eyes widen in realization. Johnny. You're Johnny, right? The said Johnny turns to look at Zoro in realization before grinning widely. Zoro and Ikki. Where's Yosaku? Usually he's around. Zoro asks and looks around as Johnny looks dejected at the mention of said Yosaku. Why Yosaku? He's sick. And I don't know what to do. Johnny answers, slowly panicking again while Zoro seems surprised by that before turning to Luffy. Luffy, do you mind if they board the ship? They're my friends. He asks and Luffy just shrugs with a smile. Sure, I don't mind. Bring them up. Hearing that, Takao swoops in and transforms Midland, scaring the shit out of Johnny as Takao gently holds Yosaku up and takes him on board. Johnny is just dumbfounded while Usopp lets the rope ladder down for him to climb, before he snaps out of it and quickly climbs up to the ship. Takao puts Yosaku on the middle deck before he flies off again to the crow's nest, back to his lookout duty. While Johnny is telling the others his tales on how they are friends with Zoro, he beat them up, and then they became buddies. Men in this world surely are bonding in the strangest ways. And why are they traveling by the sea? Before Yosaku suddenly gets sick, Nami approaches the half-dead man and starts examining him, and Johnny is not happy with her way of checking him out, but she gives no shit. I walk up to the storage room and grab 2 handfuls of limes for Yosaku's treatment. Although I don't know how it works, I'm not a doctor and the people here are much more resilient compared to those in my homeworld, so I'm sure it'll work out fine. I approach the others with the limes and put them near Yosaku calmly. The others are watching me do my thing as I peel the limes, rinse and squeeze the fruits, letting the juice trickle down to Yosaku's throat and letting him drink it down. Well, you're actually responding pretty fast this time around. Nami comments, seemingly a little impressed that I'm not giving a medical hazard problem this time around. Unlike Luffy, I read books so I know some things. I'm pretty sure he got scurvy or something like that. I shrug with a smirk. Nami nods at that before turning back to the others. Well, you're not wrong about that. Scurvy was practically a death sentence for sailors in the past. It's caused by a lack of nutrients found in fruits and vegetables. She explains, putting her hand on her hip. Ooh, I see. That's good to know then. Luffy replies with a big smile, impressed by Nami's knowledge. You're like a doctor. He adds, and Nami rolls her eyes in annoyance. It's basically the most basic of the basic knowledge when you're going sailing. How can you not know about this? Nami responds in disbelief. I just shake my head and give her a smug grin. You're overestimated Luffy's knowledge on sailing. He barely knows shit other than rowing a boat. He can't even swim even before he eats his devil fruit. I tell her, but nah, I mostly know things from my first journey entering the Grand Line. That actually gives an honest shocked look from not only Nami, but from the others too, except for those who live with me for a decade. You went to the Grand Line and returned still in one piece. Ha, title drop. No wonder you're freakishly strong. I did tell you that I went training with my Gramps, and Gramps took me to Marineford and by extension the Grand Line, so yeah. I shrug, like it's not really a big deal. I had my fun, but if you think you can just ask me things about my experience there, good fucking luck, because where's the fun in that except experiencing it yourself? I smirk smugly, and that deflates them down. But can you at least tell us how your journey was? Usopp asks, actually desperate to hear the juicy bits. It was hell, I'll tell you that. Everyone is crazy strong, and the weather is also in on trying to murder you, so yeah. You'll get stronger gradually once you enter the place as a way to adapt with the place. I answer with a smirk, and I can see that his legs are shaking like a newborn lamb. It's pretty hilarious. But before things get escalated, the previously half-dead Yosaku abruptly sits up, surprisingly looks far healthier than before, and then both of him and Johnny start to dance around. Like hell he can recover that fast. Nami yells at them angrily. And then they stop to pose that mirrors each other. One hand on their chin and their other arm tucked under the first arm, feet open evenly to their hips, and their face dons a serious expression. It is a pleasure to finally meet you. My name is Yosaku, Yosaku introduces. And I'm Johnny. Thank you for saving my dear partner from the brink of death. Johnny follows suit. Zoro and Ikki used to be one of us as bounty hunters, and while we don't always get together during or after work, we're pretty much buddies and we respect him. And as expected, Yosaku suddenly starts coughing out blood and falls unconscious again, while Johnny is screaming out his name dramatically. Sheesh, they could be partners for life and tied by marriage, and I won't be surprised to be honest. In the end, Zoro sighs exasperatedly and says to get some rest already. I guess Zoro is pretty much sick of their shit but still cares enough for them both. Let this be a lesson for the rest of you. Nami huffs and crosses her arms under her chest. That's just one of the many dangers we'll have to face during our long voyages. He would have died for sure if Aris didn't manage to detect them. We definitely need someone to think about our diet to see what we need to stay healthy. Usopp nods thoughtfully. What we need is a sea chef. If you think about it, that's one of the most important talents to have when you're out in the seas. Nami agrees and she glances at me, and while we have someone that can cook, it's better for us to get the actual specialist to do it. Aris isn't that suited for cooking, if I can be honest. A little offended, but I can't deny it as I nod. Yeah, I'd rather punch and kick people rather than staying in the kitchen. Although I still like cooking and experimenting on it. Alright, I've decided. Let's go look for a sea cook. Luffy exclaims with a big grin. Eating good food is never a bad thing anyway. Well, if that's the case, we can go look for that sea restaurant called Barati. We can go and recruit an acquaintance of mine there. I tell him with a smile, as I reminisce about the times I spent with Sanji and Zeph. Whoa, you went to Barati, Lil Aniki? Johnny asks, a little surprised but not too surprised, while the rest of the crew start getting pale. I suppose that's to be expected. You went to the Grand Line, so you must have heard of it at least once. Aniki. That's new. I should ask him about it later after I beat him up for calling me little. I kick him in the shin and he screeches out in pain, hopping around like a rabbit while he's holding onto his bruised shin. I just stare at him in boredom while the others are letting out a relieved sigh that I just kicked his shin and not openly murdering him. So what's up with this Bharati place? Usopp asks, changing the topic and taking my attention away from Johnny. It's a sea restaurant. I don't remember much of the exact location, but all I remember is near the entrance of the Grand Line. Plenty strong people are around too. I answer and take a glance at Zoro with a smirk, and I heard that Mohawk guy is seen around the area too. I add. Zoro widens his eyes before grinning nervously and excitedly. Johnny gulps audibly after he finishes hopping around, while the others are just looking at each other questioningly and shrugging at each other. Well then, Johnny boy. Tell Nami the exact location so we can go there as soon as possible. I tell him and he flinches before saluting. Understood, Maris Aniki. And while everyone is doing their thing, I grab my writing tools from the men's room and back to the deck, writing down the event of this afternoon and our next destination and goal. Adding a small doodle of Sanji, I chuckle a bit before gently blowing on it so the ink dries faster. I wonder if Sanji still remembers me. XXX. Reaching Bharati took less than 2 days, and that was with the help of the wind and the sea. It might take much longer if they didn't help, which is much appreciated. It's a rather slow journey, but it's still better to sail with a goal in mind rather than sailing around aimlessly. Luffy is sitting on his favorite seat, Usopp is at the crow's nest with Takao, Zoro is practicing his hockey lesson on the deck with Flame watching over him, Nami is inside the meeting room, the bounty hunter duo is looking around to find Bharati, and I'm looking at the sea on the back deck while playing around with Deimos and Phobos in the sea. I can't let myself get rusty while on the low. I need to master both weaponless and with weapon methods of fighting so I can give my enemies the surprise they deserve. I'm not giving them any mercy when the time comes. Eventually, Johnny and Yosaku called out to us, saying that we're here at Bharati. I hear the others are stirring up and gathering by the front deck, and I take my time to join the others as I can see an approaching ship sailing nearby until it's right next to Mary. I just look in boredom at the ship and the people on board, while Johnny and Yosaku are busy hiding away from the Marines, eyes because they're not pirates. A man with faded pink hair, scarred face, and bolts attached to his knuckles shows up. He points out that he never saw our pirate flag before, and then he starts introducing himself as Tekken no Full Body, or just Full Body, and asks who the captain is. I'm Luffy. Luffy replies innocently. I'm Usopp. Usopp adds and I give him the stink eye before bonking him on the head. He turns and glares at me, but I glare back with a snarl and he wilts down in fear. I did tell him that if he's being disrespectful to Luffy's position in this crew, I won't hesitate to whip him back in lane. Luffy isn't that strict with his position as the head of the crew and prefers being equal with the rest of the crew, but I'm not Luffy so I'll be the one that does it. It's practically the simplest way to respect Luffy in the crew. And then the pink guy starts to insult Johnny and Yosaku, calling them small-time bounty hunters and accusing them of getting caught by us. The said small-time bounty hunters got ticked off by that and decided that attacking the guy is a good idea, only to get their asses handed by him. Wow, you guys are super weak. Luffy comments easily with a laugh while Johnny and Yosaku seem a little ashamed by their lameness. The hell are you two doing anyway? Zoro shakes his head in exasperation, definitely tired of their shit. And then a real beaut lady with a nice curvy body and in a dress shows up and starts to flirt with the pink guy. I swear I can see gold digger on her forehead and I visibly cringe in disgust when they're just out there flirting with each other as if no one is around and not watching them. The pink guy eventually orders his goons to sink our ship down and they're aiming their cannon toward us. Everyone is panicking while I just watch in silence and Luffy is planning something. As the cannon goes off, Luffy sucks in air and inflates himself up, letting the cannonball land on his inflated belly before he repels it back. Unfortunately his aiming is still as bad as he was a decade ago, so I just let out a sigh and take myself up in the air to catch up with the ball, before I coat my leg with Buso and kick it back to the Marines, blowing the ship up. I gently land back on the deck and turn to the others, who are watching with wide eyes. Let's just go. I'm starving, I tell them with a huff. That breaks everyone out to continue sailing to Bharati and leaving the Marines to their bullshit. I also can hear the pink guy spouting curses at me as we sail away. We anchor down and jump on the deck of the sea restaurant, while Takao and Flame stay behind. I look around in nostalgia with a smile. Well, other than the paintwork being renewed, nothing much has changed. We enter the place and take a seat, while I look around to find that familiar blonde hair. So where's your friend? Nami asks, also looking around. He seems to be in the kitchen. I'ma go and meet him. I tell her as I start to walk away, ignoring Nami's warning to not cause any problems. I casually walk up to the kitchen area and enter it, ignoring the other chefs, confusion and annoyance as I approach the familiar blondie who is dealing with a bubbling pot of stew. I also see that his ass is still as flat as a board, so it's definitely him. Are you still making stew after years of working here? Old man Zeph should give you some slack and promote you already. Or kick you out. I comment teasingly and he quickly turns to look at me in surprise. I just grin as he blinks and his brain is racking itself up before his eye widens in recognition. Baris-kun, is that you? Sanji asks in disbelief and I grin wider. The one and only. Sanji laughs and has the nerve to pick me up high for a hug, but I'll let him as we hug awkwardly because of the height difference before he lets me go and puts me back down with a bright smile. I can hear the chefs in the room murmuring things about us. It's been a while. How've you been? I thought you left for the Grand Line. Sanji says, I was a little worried that you didn't survive the journey like that shitty geezer said, but you returned a lot stronger and a little taller than before. Still shorter than me, though. He chuckles as he pats my head while I scowl in return. I'll have you know, I've grown a whopping 149 centimeters since the last time we met and I can bet your scrawny ass that I can kick you to next Sunday. I growl in annoyance, but he just laughs in return and dismisses my threat. Anyway, I guess you're here to have more of the best meals in East Blue, am I right? He asks as he returns to his stew, or maybe you're here with friends. But before I can answer him, I hear the familiar peg-leg footsteps alongside with a normal heavy one, and I turn to see Old Man Zeph is approaching me and widening his eyes for a moment before grinning. Well, I see that the Ebby is back from the pirate's graveyard. Old Man Zeph comments, seemingly relieved and happy to see me despite not plastered on his face. Yep, and I'm here with friends. Just give us the best meal and we're good. I'll be waiting at our table. I tell him with a wave of my hand as I walk past him and back into the main restaurant area. I return to my seat with a big smile and the others are pretty curious about my good mood. I take it you met your friend here. Usopp asks and I nod. Yep, he grew up real tall and strong, but I can easily beat him up though. I answer and everyone doesn't seem surprised by that revelation. I ordered the head chef to give us the best meal they can make for us, so all we gotta need is just waiting. I add as I stretch out and feel my spine popping. Ooh, that feels nice. Who's stronger, me or him? Zoro suddenly asks and I give him a weird look. Go find out for yourself after he joins us. I answer and he leans back to his seat in silence, seemingly satisfied enough with that answer. Weirdo. While waiting, everyone is just talking about whatever is on their mind at the moment as a young lady server comes to serve us water. Huh, that's new. I didn't know that they accept ladies to work here. Last time I was temporarily employed here, while Old Man Zeph and Sanji were okay, the other employees weren't so okay. I admit, I was a little kid back then, so that's probably it. Other than that, nothing really happens for a few minutes until the double door is opened and reveals the pink guy and gold digger lady from before. The lady looks impeccable like before, while the guy looks like he got constipation as he's slightly stomping to their reserved table. Once they're seated, the server lady from before approaches them with a polite smile, saying something, before bowing and walking away. Probably taking in their orders or something. Finally, I can feel Sanji is exiting the kitchen area and back into the restaurant area. I see him looking around and I wave my hand at him when he looks my way. He smiles and starts approaching us before he notices Nami, who's sipping her water peacefully, and starts to switch into his lovey-dovey self. He literally tornadoes himself in and down to his knee, gently holding her hand and smiling sweetly at her with his cigarette hanging on his lips. Oh, such a beautiful jewel Aris-kun brought me today. Pardon my lateness to serve you today, my lady. How may I repay you so? Sanji questions with a sparkling eye, his other hand on his chest. Nami, without a beat, just smiles sweetly in return. Yes, it's such a shame that the famous sea restaurant is taking their time to bring us our orders. Perhaps you can give us some discounts on it. Nami answers as she peers through her eyelashes. Sanji brightens up and smiles widely. Understood, my lady. I will try to convince the head chef to do so. He replies with a bow before he stands back up and points at the boys, you shitheads pay your own bills. He adds and turns to me, ignoring the protests from them. So these are your friends, huh? Mind introducing them to me? I nod and point at Sanji. Sanji, Barati's pretty boy. I point at Nami. Nami, our soon-to-be official navigator. Next is Luffy, my little brother and also our captain. Zoro is next. Zoro, our swordsman. Last one is Usopp. Usopp, our great liar, and also the sharpshooter I guess. That earns me a protest from the long-nosed. Oh, and two unimportant stowaways. I point at Johnny and Yosaku. Those also earn protests. Oh, so you're that Luffy Aris-kun kept on telling me about. Sanji comments as he looks at Luffy, she won't stop talking about you once she starts. She even made some kind of journal filled with your charm points. I still have it in my room. With that, the others except for Luffy nod in understanding and agreeing with him. I pout at that. It's not that bad. Sure, I think Aris talked about you, but I don't really remember, so nice meeting you. Luffy replies with a bright grin. Sanji smiles politely in return and turns back to me. Do you want your special parfait, Aris-kun? I've been trying out new variants using your recipe as the base and I'd say it's pretty much a popular dessert in the restaurant. Sanji offers and I widen my eyes in surprise. Really? That weird craving I made using whatever shit's in the fridge at the time. You guys have weird tastes. I comment and he just chuckles. Well, it's true that some ingredients are unusual, but your creativity is enough to intrigue us and remade it better to make it an official menu. Well, I'm not gonna say no to nice food, so sure. I accept with a grin, make my original creation and the new variants for our desserts. Sanji nods with a smile. Gotcha, he replies as he walks away to approach the pink guy and his lady friend's table, unsurprisingly starts flirting with the lady. Your friend's—
Yo, quick pause, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, share this video, and tell me in the comments which part you're loving the most.
Seems interesting. You think he'll join us? Luffy asks me and I internally smirk because he's interested in recruiting Sanji. That way, I don't need to do anything anymore and let Luffy do his thing. I don't know. He's pretty stubborn, so you need to convince him real good to join us. I answer and he grins widely. Well, I'm gonna try it anyway. A few minutes later, our orders are flooding in. Everyone is drooling and digging in like barbarians, and especially Luffy. Of course, Yosaku and Johnny don't know about Luffy, so they fall victim to his grabby hands and they all are just shouting at Luffy while the rest of us are just laughing and being rowdy. I glance around the restaurant as I calmly eat my spaghetti and the other customers are all giving us annoyed and disgusted looks while also murmuring to each other. They look pretty high-end, so that answers my thought. Well, I don't really care about their comfort, so unless old man Zeph himself told us to pipe down, I won't make the others do so. I hear someone move their chair back and start to stomp their way to our table. I glance and notice that it's the pink marine guy, looking pissed and disturbed. Oh hey, the marine guy that I forgot the name of. What's up? I greet him with a polite smile and he just gives me a sour look. The others immediately quiet down and stare at the guy with equally sour looks. You're making a commotion in this restaurant and everyone is uncomfortable by your presence. I'm afraid I need to capture you right here, right now. He says with a growl, and I just raise my brow. Why's that? We're customers here, I reason out and he scowls in return. Perhaps, but you're also pirates. You're disturbing the civilians and as a marine lieutenant, it is my duty to capture the pirates. He replies and I narrow my eyes with a scowl as I clench my fists. This guy is annoying. But as I opened my mouth to retort back, a puff of smoke was blown right into Handbody's face. He sputters back with a cough and waves his hand for the smoke, and I do the same and scrunch my nose before turning around to look at Sanji, who's standing behind me with trays on his hand and his head with annoyed face while his other hand is holding onto his cigarette. Please don't disturb the other customers, sir. If you don't, I'm afraid I have to remove you from the restaurant. Sanji warns the marine while not looking at him as he's serving our orders and gently putting them all on our table. Why, you're that waiter from before. I'll have you know, I'm a VIP customer here and I won't tolerate this rude behavior against me. Halfbody complains while pointing at Sanji, who's ignoring him while talking to Nami. A special service for the beautiful lady. My, thank you, Sanji-kun. I huffed in annoyance as I crossed my arms. Are you done with your tantrum? Because I'm starving and I don't like getting interrupted during my mealtime. I ask casually and Handbody looks ready to explode, which he did as he raises his fist. He's about to slam it down to our table and destroy it and our meals along, but I immediately grab his wrist and stand up to twist it behind his back. He cries out in pain and slaps the floor as I push him down and pin him down with a bored look before I grin widely. I suggest you go now before I break your arm in front of these people. That would be a pretty pathetic show for them, right? I'm sure you don't want to hurt your pride even more than getting your ass kicked by someone far shorter than you not only once, but twice by now. I tell him with a manic smile before chuckling as I lean down to his ear, so I suggest you to run off now with your tail between your legs like a dog that you are. I whisper and blow into his ear as I can feel him shiver in return. I push myself back up and let him go as I sit back down to my chair. I cross my legs and look down at Full Body's pathetic form as I rest my arm on my knee and lean my chin on my open palm with a smirk. He's struggling to push himself back up while holding onto his pained shoulder and looking at me with a red face before scurrying away. I don't know if that reaction is from embarrassment, anger, or both, but it's hilarious to see such a big man like him running away like a dog. I glance at the other customers, who are all watching intensely like they just watch a drama show and flinch when I glare at them. Keep your eyes on your food. I tell them in warning. They quickly did so and eventually the awkwardness dissipates away as I turn back to the others with a playful grin. Well, that was fun. Nyeheheheh. I laugh heartily, which earns me a hit on the back of my head by an annoyed Nami. Though the boys don't think the same and have the same amused grin on their faces. Stop terrorizing the civilians, you dumbass. She huffs and takes a bite to her food before widens her eyes in surprise. Oh, this is very delicious, she compliments, and Sanji, who's still around, takes it gratefully with a happy smile. I'll be sure to pass it on to the chefs. Oi Shanji, give me mo food, Luffy exclaims out with his mouth full while his hands are taking bits and pieces of other customers' food so fast that no one really notices it except me. Sanji scowls in slight disgust. Don't talk with your mouth full, he says simply before walking away, probably checking on the other customers. Luffy didn't care about that as he keeps watching Sanji while still munching and stealing food around. I calmly eat my fish dish after finishing my spaghetti and hum happily when the said fish meat just melts in my mouth while the flavor is surfing on my taste buds. Truly, Sanji's food is absolutely divine. Once we're done dining and back to our ship, Luffy calls us for a quick meeting. Yush everyone, I've decided. Luffy says with a big grin and hands on his hips, we'll stay here until we can make that Sanji to join us. I'm recruiting him and we're not leaving. Hearing that, I can feel Nami feeling a little nervous. I glance at her and see that she has a neutral expression but crosses her arms defensively. And what if he doesn't want to? Nami asks, raising her eyebrow. Well, I'll make him. I'll beat him up if I have to and take him. Luffy answers innocently and she buries her face into her palm for that obvious answer from our captain. Zoro, who's been leaning on the mast, laughs in amusement. That sounds like a crazy idea. I'll go with it, Zoro says with a smirk. As long as there's no unnecessary battle for us, I'm good. Usopp timidly replies. We'll lay low and let Yosaku gather up his strength back, so we're okay with that too. Johnny says and Yosaku nods. We hope our stay here won't be much of a problem. Let's stay around for a few days then. I'm sure I can try to make old man Zeph convince Sanji to leave the restaurant and broaden his horizon. I suggest with a smile and look at Nami with a tilt of my head, unless you have something urgent to do. I ask calmly. She pulls her hand off her face to blankly look at me before looking away with a huff, crossing her arms and tracing her fingers on her left shoulder subtly. I'm just concerned that I'm wasting my precious time staying around instead of stealing more money. Nami replies in the end and I just smile at her. Don't worry, I'm sure it won't take too long. I assure her, and if it did, you can take Takao along to help you with the treasure stealing. I add, Takao didn't protest, but he's not happy that I'll make him accompany her. Nami didn't say anything in return before turning around and walking away, probably back to the girl's room. The others give me a questioning look, but I just shrug in return. After all, I don't need to follow Nami to know that she's anxious about something. No, Eri-chan, hey, get a grip of yourself. No, I'm sorry. Please don't hate me, you should just go die in an endless pit. No, I'm sorry. Please, don't hurt me anymore. Eri, oi, wake up. As soon as I could, I opened my eyes, releasing me from the darkness into the blaring light. I saw Luffy's face full of worry and tensed. My eyes watered and hugged him, burying my face on his chest as my shoulder shook wildly. He hugged me back tight and he whispered that everything's gonna be alright and he's here right now. Luffy, I sobbed, please don't hate me, please don't leave me, I don't want to be alone anymore, please, don't leave me, I chanted as I kept cried, tightened my arms around him. It's okay, Eri, I'm here, I won't leave you. I never hate you, it's alright, I'm right here with you. He replied as he put his big hand on my head, stroking my hair softly. I kept sobbing until I cried myself to sleep, my arms still around Luffy tightly. XXX. Hey, is everything alright, Luffy? Nami asked softly to Luffy in worry. She's been tossing and turning back and forth when she was sleeping until she screamed a moment ago, Vivi added. Luffy didn't answer them immediately but he carried Erika up and about to walk out from the room before stopping for a moment to tell the girls something. She's sleeping with me tonight. He told them and walked out from the room and closed the batch. He walked back to the boys' quarter and laid Erika down to the sofa and he lay down too next to her. The couch is too cramped for them, of course, but better be patient except he wants his little sister got another nightmare. He hugged her tight and stroked her hair until her breathing's getting calmer than before. He smiled and closed his eyes, going to sleep. XXX. I woke up with stiff neck and I saw red. I just realized that I was sleeping hugging something and I looked up, only to saw Luffy sleeping soundly, wrapping his arms around me. I was staring at him before I brought up my left hand to his face, stroking it. Luffy, wake up, I said softly, but my voice was so hoarse and so dry. I coughed and it eventually woke him up. Eri, you okay? How do you feel? Did you get any nightmares again? He asked in one breath frantically with his dark brown owlish eyes. Just go die already. I'm fine, I replied softly and tried to sit up slowly, my bangs shadowing my eyes. He sat up too and hugged me again, making circle on my back, which soothing me a bit. I hugged him back and closed my eyes, assuring myself that I got Luffy and the Strafuts now, and no one would haunt me anymore with those words. Not anymore. XXX. Are you feeling alright now, Eri-chan? I heard Sanji-san asked as he offered me a drink, which I received it gratefully. Yeah, better than last night, thank you. I replied and sipped on the drink. This is great like usual, Sanji-san. I said and smiled weakly, which was earning a noodle dance from him with hearty eyes. I just smiled at it, got no energy to beat the crap out of him when he does that to me and sipped back the cold drink. I was staring at the sea while Vivi-chan was telling the others about Grand Line further and got pissed off when the boys didn't pay attention to whatever she's saying, as I'm still not feeling good from last night. Are you sure things will be fine like this? Vivi-chan exclaimed as she pointed at the boys. It'll be fine, they'll work hard when we come across rough seas. It's not like they want to die or anything. Here, Nami replied as she gives another drink to Vivi-chan. That's true, but at this rate, we might be caught unaware. Vivi sighed as she took the drink from Nami's hand. I smiled, but being on this ship, sure makes you lose the will to even worry, doesn't it? I asked to Vivi. She was surprised by my statement before feeling the breeze and watching the boys, smiling a bit. Yes, it is quite relaxing, she replied. I smiled at it softly and sipped down the drink until it's empty. Hey look, it's a dolphin, Sanji-san informed as he saw a dolphin. Oh, it's so CU. But then the others were just realized that the said dolphin is a big-ass dolphin. It's freaking huge. I was laughing and took a picture as the dolphin was let out, maybe about to eat us whole. Let's run away, Luffy exclaimed. Aye, Cap'n. I was watching the others calmly while they were so frantic and excited about it. Thankfully, after a few minutes of getting away, we finally got away and were finally sailing and calm again. I was starting to doze off until Nami announced that she saw our destination. I smiled a bit and I felt something was tight around me. I saw it was Luffy's arms as he clings on my back with his usual big grin of his. Come on, cheer up. We're going to an adventure. Cheer up, he told me, still with grin. I just smiled seeing his antics and nodded. Yeah, adventure, here we come. Both Luffy and me exclaimed in sync with enthusiastic expression, making most of the Strafuts smiled and relieved that I'm back to my normal self. Well, mostly. XXX. So this is Little Garden, Luffy pointed out as we got closer to the island, which revealing as an island with big ass, garden. Just from which view that it's, little. Zoro said as he also pointed out my thoughts earlier. It doesn't look nearly as cute as its name, Nami sighed, sounded disappointed. Took the words out of my mouth. I agreed as I put on my cap and wore my gladiator sandals, not taking off my eyes from the island full of jungle. This is like unexplored territory. An untamed jungle. Usopp quivered out as he walked back a few steps. And we better explore it then, I exclaimed after I finished tying my sandals and jumped up with excited expression. You said it's unexplored, so then the first one that should explore it should be us. Right, Luffy. I grinned as I turned my attention to Luffy. Yeah, he agreed and we high-fived while Usopp was cowering out as he heard what Vivi-chan says about what Miss All Sunday said a day ago. Oi, I saw a riverbank right there. I heard Zoro exclaimed as he pointed to the said riverbank, which taking most of the Strafuts' attention to see the said riverbank. We went through the jungle using the riverbank path and I can felt many livings here, which of course, only animals. But there are many plants I saw along the riverbank that I don't recognize, which probably extinct. Then suddenly we heard loud screeching in the sky from distance, which scaring both Nami and Usopp. I just looked up in interest as I heard the screeching, ignoring Sanji-san in his love mode. Then I saw a huge bird was flying down towards Sanji-san, probably about to grab him. But I jumped up and kicked the bird in the head, knocking it cold. Well, we got a bird. Sanji-san, would you please cook it? I asked as I grabbed the bird with its wings and plucked off one of its feathers that are pretty long one, for safekeeping. Hi Eri Kwan. Then suddenly smokes were covering our sightings, making both weak duo cowered in fear, assuming that this is not a normal jungle and stuff. I just rolled my eyes at their whining but didn't say anything in return. Seriously, this is Grand Line. There's no such thing as logical sense in this side of the sea. And it's just one of two sides of the Grand Line, which paradise. New World is a far different matter. It's far more wild, dangerous, and unpredictable. That's why this side of the Grand Line Sea is called paradise. Then I felt something was approaching our ship and it revealed as a big tiger. Both weak duo scared and walked away from the right side of the ship railings to the left side. Luffy and me stared at it and saw that the tiger suddenly bleeding and fell down to the ground, dead, like something just attacked it. Well then, it's decided we are not stopping at this island. Usopp decided out with bloodshot eyes. We'll just sit on the ship and quietly wait for the log to set, and then we get out of here as fast as possible. Nami said, also scared, we do have to hurry to Alabasta, right? I took my bow staff from Flame's mouth as he took it from the girls' quarter for me and Takao gave the Bisanto case, along with the belt. I bid them and thank you as I petted them and strapped them around my waist and slipped the bow staff in the belt. Sanji-san, Bento. Luffy and me exclaimed in sync as we trembled while we stare at the jungle. Bento? He asked. Yeah, to recharge our power. We said as we turned to look at him with meaningful grins, a ton of meat and no vegetables. A kaikoku bento. We continued, we smell adventures. We added, wait a second, just where do you think you two are going? Nami asked, probably trying to stop us. On an adventure. We replied with sparkles around us and big grins, wanna come? Wanna come? Boken, Boken. We chanted, still with innocent sparkles around us, which making Nami cried comically after she tried to punch us with her fist but finally gave up, probably gave up because of our innocent and excited auras. Sanji-san, Bento. We told him once more as he walked down to the lower deck to the kitchen. Yeah, I know, just gimme a moment. He replied and we giggled. Nay, is it alright if I come with you too? Vivi asked to us. Yay, come on, let's go. Luffy allowed her, still with grin. More people, the merrier the adventure is. I said, still with grin too. Chato, don't tell me you're going along with this. Nami protested at Vivi-chan's decision. Well, if I sit around here, I'll only get depressed. She replied, so I may as well try to clear my head until the log pose finishes recording. But it's dangerous. I'll be alright. Karu will be with me. She replied back, which making the said oversized duck shocked until it couldn't even quack. He's so surprised that he can't quack. Nami sighed as she looked at Karu. Well, Vivi-chan, I'll make another special love bento for you. Sanji-san said, can you please make some of your drink from Karu, too? Vivi asked. Of course. He replied and closed the kitchen door, meaning that he's working. After a while, our lunchboxes are finished and my portions are in the orange-colored bag on my back. Luffy and me were grinned at each other and we looked back at the jungle. Well, you're all set. Sanji-san said. Yup. We replied in sync, not taking off our eyes from the jungle, and we jumped off to the island. Well, we're off. Vivi said as she bid at the rest of us on the ship. Oh, Takao, Flame. Please help and watch the others, K. I told them and grinned. They nodded and I ran after Luffy, as he ran first. We'll be back soon, Vivi added as Karu ran after us. We kept running and took pictures of the plants here until we were in the middle of the jungle and we saw a small pond in the middle. Luffy jumped in the pond and pointed at the things inside of the ponds. Hey look, it looks like a squid with a shell. Luffy pointed out and took one to showed it to us, a shell squid. He said, it looks just like an ammonite. Vivi said, it's a shell squid. Luffy said once more, it's an ammonite. I exclaimed as I took one from the pond too. Whoa. This is the first time I saw these rare specimens. I wonder if it's edible. I wondered as I grinned and took a picture of the ammonite. Nani, it's edible. Let's take them for our meal. Luffy said, nah, maybe later after all of this is over. If we take it now, it would die when we're still in our adventure and it won't taste good anymore if it's not fresh. I told him and put back the ammonite in the water, which followed by the rubber brain. What, so they won't taste great if we took them now? He echoed back and I nodded. Suddenly we heard loud and really heavy steps from distances, which taking our attention and Karu was got pale because of it. Then we ran after the loud steps just then and we saw bizarre things that caused the loud and real heavy steps just then. Why is there a sea king walking on land? Luffy asked as he saw the said sea king walking on land. A dinosaur. Vivi exclaimed, looked shocked at it. A dinosaur. Luffy and me exclaimed with excited expressions and I took a picture of the dinosaur with sparkle eyes. Then, this must be one of the prehistoric islands. Vivi exclaimed, this island is still back in the age of the dinosaurs. Because of the difficulty of navigating the islands of the Grand Line, the different islands seldom mingle with each other, each island has been left to develop in its own unique way. Therefore there are islands that contain civilizations that have advanced beyond compare, and there are islands that have remained isolated for tens of thousands of years retaining their original state. Vivi continued, the unpredictable climates of the Grand Line make this possible. She added, this island really is still in the age of the dinosaurs. She finished. But as she finished her words, both Luffy and me launched toward the dinosaur's neck and we were clinging on the neck. Wow, this is the first time I saw a real dinosaur, not in some movies. And their skin is kind of rough and they smelled bad, typical wild animals. Don't climb it, I heard Vivi yelled at us. We looked around and exclaimed in sync, what a great view. Then Luffy turned at me and said, this would be a great place to eat our lunch. I nodded in agreement. Yeah, that would be awesome. I exclaimed and took some pictures of the surroundings and I saw pterosaurs were flying around on the sky. How can you two being so carefree? Vivi exclaimed in disbelief. Nah, we'll be fine, Vivi-chan. We're strong. I laughed it up while Vivi looked so desperate about our carefree nature. So there really are mountains here. Luffy pointed out and I took a picture of it, and there's a huge holy mountain over there. He pointed out again and I took a picture of it. You two, hurry up and get down now. Vivi yelled at us. But it's only eating grass, right? Luffy asked, I don't think it's mine for a while. I added, even though it's docile now, it's still a dinosaur. She replied, yelled back at us. It's okay, he doesn't mind. Luffy exclaimed. Then again, I think I really should stop and just do what Vivi said. So I jumped down from the dinosaur's head to the ground, which making Vivi and Karu shocked about it and quite hysterical about it. I just rolled my eyes and using haki on my legs and I landed on the ground, hard. Oh, and deep too. Dang it, I'm stuck deep in the ground. I cursed and turned to Vivi and her oversized duck, sorry but would you please help me up? I asked them a help, which gifted by a hit in the head. That hurt. Why did you do that? I yelled at her, shark-teethed in my hands on my bruised head. For scaring me to death. She yelled back, shark-teethed. Honestly, you're as reckless as Luffy-san. Stop scaring me to death like that. She told me. I just stuck out my tongue and said, just help me out. She and Karu managed to help me out and after I'm out from the ground, I saw that Luffy made himself get eaten by the said dinosaur, which unknown to us, got increased by many. I was not in the mood of being incensed, so I was staring blankly at the sight, making the Sand Kingdom's princess was the one who screamed in shock until something huge loomed over us and the dinosaurs, and cut the dinosaur, who swallowed my baby big brother whole, right in the neck, making my brother slide off from the dinosaur's throat and landed on the giant's figure. Well, literally, it is a freaking giant, so doesn't surprise me. Cool. There's a giant here, I sang as I took a picture of the said giant, who was having a conversation with Luffy. How can you be so calm about this, Eri-chan? Vivi scolded me. Why should I being frantic like too certain person? I asked her with, are you an idiot, look to her. XXX. On a certain ship. Yeah, kya, XXX. But at least show some concern. She continued. Yay, sorry about that. I finally gave up to whatever she said and turned back my attention to the said giant. Let me invite you folks to my place. I heard the giant boomed as he looked down at us. Ah, he spotted us, Vivi muttered while Karu looked shocked about that, even though he's already fainted with foams in his beaks. I grinned at the giant, sure. Let's go then, I replied and followed the giant, along with Vivi and Karu. XXX. Gegyagya. Dahahaha. Gegyagya. Dahahaha. This is really good, giant awesome. Gegyagya. And your little Kaikoku bento is pretty good too. Though it is a little small. You bet it is. I would have kicked your ass if you said it tasted bad. Gegyagya. Aren't you a funny little one? They seem to be like great buddies from years ago that got reunited, I grinned as I ate the dinosaur meat from earlier happily, together with my bento. Vivi nodded, they're getting along so well, she agreed as she sweat dropped. So why are y'all living here along anyways? Luffy asked as he took a bite from the meat, don't you have a village to live in? I do. It's called Elbaf, a village for warriors. It's located somewhere on Grand Line, the giant replied. It's located somewhere in Grand Line. I trailed off as I chewing on my food and gulped it down. I think it's in New World, right? I asked and put in another meat into my mouth. Yeah, I guess so, it's already a long time so I forgot. He replied, but my village has a certain law. He started. If a quarrel breaks out in my village and you can't settle it on your own, then we beseech our god Elbaf for his judgment. He said, Elbaf is just and bestows divine protection on those in the right. He'll ensure the survival of the righteous. I've gotten involved in a quarrel myself, and so this island has served as the battleground between me and a certain other giant. The one who's in the right shall triumph and survive. He continued, but it's been 100 years since. We just can't seem to settle our duel. Gegyagya. You've been fighting for over 100 years. Luffy exclaimed. It's nothing to be surprised about. Our lifespans are 3 times your puny ones. Gegyagya. He replied, but even if you do live longer, how could you still want to fight after 100 years? Is there any reason in continuing to fight? Vivi asked, slightly surprised, you're trying to kill each other, aren't you? Then suddenly the volcano erupted loudly. Whoa, it's a humongous volcanic explosion. Luffy pointed out, and it's getting hotter here, I said as I kept eating. Looks like it's about time, the giant said and stood up, not sure when we exactly decided it, but the eruption of that middle volcano is the signal for battle. He told us as he glanced at the said volcano. So it's all about pride, I pointed out and huffed as I smiled, men, always the same. I shook my head and took the last bite of my bento and the meat. Seriously, dinosaur meat surely tasty. Even tastier than crocodile meat. And it's pretty rare meat one at that. And I forgot the reason, ages ago. Then suddenly Luffy fell down to the ground on his back, making Vivi slightly surprised and asked him what's wrong. I'm beat. They're just so huge. The only reply he says. Magnificent, isn't it? I smiled and sipped on my drink from my water container, eyes not taking off from the fight, which is getting intense and the impact was so strong and incredible. Even I could feel it from distance. But after 10 minutes or more, the fight finished with a draw. And right when those two collided their shields to their prospective enemies, I took a picture of it, cause it looks so cool. Then he came back with some barrels in his hands and started talking to us again. Gegyagya. Ah, could his guest be your crewmates? He said his 2 guests were a long-nosed man and a woman. He told us, that must be Usopp and Nami. I replied with half-lidded eyes. What's with them? They made such a fuss about not leaving the ship, too. Maybe those 2 really do like adventures. Luffy said and giggled. I don't think that's the right idea, Lu. I deadpanned at him. Then I guess I should be thanking you 2 as well for these drinks. The giant thanked us. Sorry to change the topic, but earlier you said that it takes a year for the log to finish recording on this island. Is that really true? Vivi asked. Haven't you seen the skeletons of them little humans lying on the ground around these parts? Most humans who come here end up dying before their log sets. The giant explained, some are eaten by the dinosaurs, others give in to heat or starvation. And some even try to attack us. Whatever the case, they all end up perishing on this island. Seems that spending even a single year on this island's just too long for you little humans. He finished with a toothy grin. That answer was making Vivi even more depressed than before on the ship, as if we wait until the log to set for a year, Alabasta would be only a history in a book. Isn't there any other way, Giant Austin? Both Luffy and me asked in sync. Well, I do have one eternal pose. But that only points towards my home Elbaf. In a way, you could say that Brigi and I are fighting over this eternal pose. The giant replied, you want to try stealing it from us by force? He asked. No, we're going to Alabasta, not Elbaf. I told him. Yeah, we're not trying to go to Elbaf, we just want to go on to the next island. Luffy said. Yes, if we veer off our current course to Alabasta, then there's no meaning in sailing at all. Vivi confirmed. Yag. Then why don't you just test your luck and sail ahead? If fate wills it, you'll reach your destination. Dory the giant exclaimed. Dahahaha. You think? Ahahaha. You know, it just might work. Luffy agreed and laughed together with the giant. I was biting my right thumb as I tried to remember something I eventually forgot while the others were preoccupied with their own business. But this is bad, what did I forgot about, I wonder? I muttered as I bit harder on my thumb, which unbeknownst to me starting to bleed. In the end, I couldn't find anything what I forgot and sighed in frustration, putting my chin on my right palm, turning back my attention back to the giant, who was currently pouring down the content of the barrel into his mouth and gulping it down. Then it clicked in. The bomb. Goddammit. How could I was forgot about that, damn it. Giant Austin. Don't. I tried to stop him and tell him to spill it out, but it was too late. It already exploded from right in his insides. I was staring at the sight wide eyes and in shock. Unconsciously I clenched my hands so much that it bleed a bit. The sake exploded. Luffy yelled in shock, while the other two were quaked and staring in shock also. The giant fell down to his back after he coughed out bloods, making us become more frantic. I quickly ran approaching him and called him, Austin. Austin, this is bad. It exploded from inside his stomach. What happened? Why did the sake explode? Isn't this sake from our ship? Luffy asked as he approaching the giant Austin. It exploded from inside his stomach. How horrible. Do you think that other giant could have possibly put something in the... Before Vivi could continue her words, both Luffy and me glared at her. Are you blind? Why would two warriors who've been, I started, fighting each other for over 100 years, Luffy continued, stoop to such a low act? We finished, yelled at her in sync, which making her flinched. Then who could it have been? Vivi started, but cut off by a certain injured giant. It's you little runts, I heard Giant Austin growled as he stood up, which taking our attention. I gritted my teeth hard. It must be Baroque works, doings, I growled as I looked down, clenching my hands hard until it bleed. How dare them, they can't be forgiven. I glared down to the grass, not paying attention to my surroundings until something putting something on my head, on my hat. I looked up and saw that it was Luffy who put his straw hat on me as he didn't take off his eyes from the giant, who was suspecting us for being the one who making the sake explode. Sorry about this, Austin. Luffy started as he started stretching out and stood up, cracking up his fists, but I'm gonna have to shut you up for a bit. He finished. XXX. As those two males were fighting to each other, my eyes were shadowed by the rim of my cap and took Luffy's straw hat and gave it to Vivi. Hold on this carefully, I told her, it's his treasure. I'm going to find the bastard who was responsible to this. I continued and walked toward the jungle before ran fast, which actually earning a confused look from the princess. I skidded to a stop and closed my eyes, focusing my haki to detect every movement around me, which kind of futile because I only detect the plants and the extinct animals around me. I cursed loudly before I suddenly detected someone was leapt out right above me and I quickly jumped backward before the person landed on me. It appears the person is a young girl with DF, as her arms changed into some kind of scythe or whatever, but got green color, was pierced through the ground where it used to be my footrest. You dodged, I heard the girl said and she pulled off her scythe-like arms from the ground before turned to me, staring at me with green dead fish-like eyes and pointed one of her arms at me. But I won't miss next time, she said and she ran right at me. I quickly pulled my baton-length bow staff and pushed the button, making it longer, and stopped her scythe-like arms before they slicing me up. As her scythe-like arms making contact with my staff, she gasped and the scythe-like arms changed into normal arms. She jumped backwards and staring at me with those dead fish-like eyes. That weapon, it's Kairoseki, isn't it? She asked cautiously. Yeah it is. So what kind of DF did you eat? I asked as I gripped my staff with both of my hands, not taking off my eyes from her. Zone type, Mushi no Mi, model, Mantis. She replied as her arms changed back into scythe-shaped and leapt up to me. I swung my bow staff at her, but before it touched her, she disappeared without trace. I was kind of surprised about it, but knowing normal mantises are fast when they attack, I better be cautious. But unfortunately, I was careless and I felt something slashed my back. I lost my balance and fell to the ground face first, my bow staff rolling away from me as my cap flew away from my head. Still not enough, another attack got me. Something pierced through both of my sides from the back. I widened my eyes as I screamed soundlessly, blood started trickling down from the corners of my lips. The sharp things were pulled out from the punctures harshly before an impact kicked me away a few feet. I was wheezing and coughed out bloods as I tried to sit up slowly. I could detect the girl was the one who tried to kill me just then. Now, I saw her expressionless face was staring down at me as if I'm just a worthless thrash, still with her side-like arms that now decorated by red liquids aka my bloods. Now, she started as she walked approaching me and stopped right in front of me. It's time for you to die. She finished and brought down her arms, about to cut me up. I couldn't react fast with my current condition, so the only fast reaction of mine is closed my eyes tight, waiting for the side-like arms cutting me up into pieces. I was waiting, and waiting, but the attack never came. Out of curiosity, I opened one of my eyes slowly, checking the current situation. I quickly opened both of my eyes as I saw something astonishing before me. Another girl, no, I think it's a young woman, as she has quite a body, with long jet black hair to the back, wearing some kind of dress with gray color and red rims, with separated sleeves with the same color and same rims colors, and black gladiator sandals, was warding the side-like arms of the mantis girl with my bow staff. I could recognize it cause it filled with grazes and it's already worn out, even though it's still steady enough to ward off Zoro's weights that has who knows how many tons when I pissed him off when he was training. I could only stared at the scene before me with disbelief look as the mantis girl leapt out as she glared at the young woman that protected me just then. Who are you? I heard the mantis girl asked, probably to the young woman. Me. The young woman echoed back before laughing. Well, is the world really that fast for getting me? Younglings and their rudeness. The young woman shook her head and brought up her right arm to the mantis girl. Now, I won't let you kill my favorite descendant that easily. She said as some kind of blue aura spheres started gathering around her right palm that brought up. So you better off now, before I take your soul away from your body. You don't want that pretty face of yours changed into some kind of rotten corpse, right? She asked to the mantis girl, and I think she's smirking. The mantis girl didn't really phased up about the threat, but her arms changed back into human arms and she turned away before she disappeared without trace. There was silence around us before the young woman turned and crouched down, looking at me. She sighed, now look at you, you're so pathetic that mantis girl could immobilize you like a butterfly that perched on a flower and didn't realize there's a danger near it, she said and put my bow staff right next to me. Then she walked away to take my cap and walked back to me, putting the cap right next to the bow staff. Shut up. I coughed out blood and wiped off the blood from around my lips. Who the hell are you anyway? I asked. She just smiled and crouched down to my eye level, revealing her pretty face with sharp blood red eyes with thick black slits. Then she brought up her right index finger to her lips, indicating that it's a secret before she brought up her left palm to cover my eyes completely, and I suddenly blacked out. But before I blacked out completely, I heard she said, "You'll know soon, in the future, my dear. XXX. I woke up in the arms of someone and I felt this person was walking. I flinched as the injuries I got from the mantis girl were throbbing real bad and need treatments real soon. I coughed softly, which was taking the person's attention, which was revealed as Sanji-san carrying me bridal style. Are you alright, Eri-chan? You got nasty injuries there. Don't worry, we're going to where everyone resides, just wait so we could treat your injuries sooner. He told me as I just realized that we're in the air and we were riding on Takao. I just nodded and then I just realized there's loud crying from distance, but it's hurting my ears badly so I decided to push myself to cover my ears. Then we could see some kind of rainbow from distance and I told Takao to go there fast. He obeyed and he flew faster to the said rainbow. He stopped as we saw the said rainbow was caused by Bragi's tears that like a waterfall and we also saw everybody else there. Takao, hurry go there before the waterfall tears were over. I told him as I kept covering my ears. He nodded and he went down to the ground fast and he slowed down by flapping his wings and we landed on the ground safely. I put on my earplugs and jumped down from Sanji-san's arms and Takao to the ground, but I lost my balance and fell to my knees. I shook my head and stood up, looking up to the other giant who was crying out loud to his giant friend. I chuckled softly and took out my camera and took a picture of the waterfall tears, along with the Strafuts, the giants, and the rainbow above them all. But then suddenly Dory the giant sat up, shocking all of them until their eyes bulged out real far. I took the hilarious scene and laughed loudly internally. Yeshishishishi, you all sure look energetic, aren't you guys? I said and chuckled, which was taking the Strafuts' attentions. Eriii. And as fast as the sound, Luffy tackled me to the ground real far, making my back skidded to the ground below us, which making me hissed because of the injuries on my back. Where the hell are you? I thought you've gone back to the ship because of things. He exclaimed. I'm not. I replied as I pushed him off and hissed as the injuries were throbbing, which taking Luffy's attention more. Oi, what's wrong? Are you hurt? He asked and then he pat my back, making me pinch his cheek hard cause it hurts. He yelped it hurts before he brought up his hand that pat my back and stared at it, which covered with blood. Nah, just a scratch. Just don't worry about me, I'll be fine. I replied and ruffled his jet black hair. No it's not. You're hurt. We better off to the ship right now. He exclaimed. Great. His overprotective self started resurfacing, Like Ace and Sabo long time ago when one day I'm off to the high town to steal wallets by my own, resulting a quite beaten up me as I came home to the Dayton's house. But I still got many wallets with quite a money. So it's kind of worth it. Shut up, I'm satisfying my kleptomaniac self that time, so be quiet. But you're hurt, he told me once more, and he stuck out his lower lip as he pouted at me. Freaking goddammit. Stop making cute faces like that, damn it. Not fair. How dare he makes those kinds of faces and showed it to me. Grr, fine. Just wait until we get to ship. So, stop making those kind of faces, damn it. I yelled at him, shark teeth, as I hit his head with hockey-infused fist. That hurt, he yelled, and I stood up, making him rolled off from my body, and I dusted off all the dusts from my clothes, not minding the throbbing pain on the back and my sides. Then I walked toward the other Strafuts as they were calling us, and we stopped at one of the holy mountain to treat giant Ossens and my injuries. We want to repay you for saving our lives. The fat giant Ossen said. Yagyagya, we've completely forgot that we're still wanted by the government. Giant Ossen said. Because of me, those people are coming to this island, Vivi said as she looked down, which making both Nami pinch her cheek. Ouch. Stop speaking nonsense. Nami sighed. That's right, Vivi. Why are you worrying about that? Usopp asked as he, Luffy, Karu, and me were eating senbei. Here, I started as I offered them a bag of senbei. Do you want some senbei? Luffy continued, asked as he kept eating on the rice crackers. Where did you get that from? Nami asked as the girls were sweat dropping before she turned her attention back to Vivi. There must be someone mad about you. Hey, let's have a senbei party. Both Luffy and me exclaimed in sync. Hey, Nami, can you take off more clothes? Usopp asked, which earning a whack in the head by Nami. But we need a year to record the log, that's no kidding. Zoro said. That's right, it's not a joke at all. Nami agreed. Can't you do anything, Ossen? Luffy asked while I ate all of the senbei in the bag without anyone notice. Don't be silly, that is the only thing we can't control. Dory Ossen replied. Now that you mention it, Sanji-san piped in and he reached in his pocket, I'm actually got this thing. He finished as he showed us an eternal pose to Alabasta, which making almost all of the Strafuts gaped really far, almost to the ground. What's wrong? The eternal pose to Alabasta. Great, let's have a senbei party. Finally, we can get out of here. Luffy exclaimed. Luffy, the senbeis are gone. All of them, Usopp announced. Nani, we can't have a senbei party without senbei. Luffy yelled out before he turned to me, who was currently eating the last senbei of the bag and put it into my mouth as it's already half of it. The last senbei. Luffy yelled out as he pointed his index finger at me, give that back. He yelled and tackled me to the ground. That hurt, you stupid rubber brain. I yelled at him as I pulled his cheeks apart far. If you didn't eat all the senbei, then I will forgive you. He yelled back as he pulled my hair hard. Stop it. Bonk. Both Luffy and me were still grumbling and cursing at each other quietly as Nami was scolding us for being like children. I stuck out my tongue at him while he also did the same, which earning another hit in our heads. Then I felt something was put on my head and I saw that it's my cap. I looked up, only to see Sanji-san was the one who put my cap back to my head, and he smiled. I smiled back and muttering thanks at him, which earning a grin from him. Then, it's time to say goodbye, Luffy started as he put on his hat back and stood up, we wish both of you luck. I finished to the giants as we grinned at them. Oh, you must be in a hurry. Bragi-san said. That's too bad, but we won't stop you. I wish that you could save your country. Dory-san said. Thank you. Vivi replied, and we turned and we walked toward the jungle while some of the boys who were a fan of the giants were telling them things before we went through the jungle. I was riding on Takao while Flame right beside Karu, who knows talking what, but they seems like good buddies that finally reunited after years didn't see each other. Nay Eri-chan, I heard Vivi called. I hummed and turned to look at her. Where did you get that injuries? It's like some kind of slashing and stabbing wounds. She asked. Well, I was kind of met a girl with zone type DF, which a mantis. I told her, did you know something about her? I asked back. Mantis. Vivi muttered and she started thinking, now that you mention it, I just remember there's another pair of agents that's still not known among of the other agents of the Baroque works. She confirmed, I heard their codenames are, Mr. 0.5 and Ms. Half Day. Mr. 0.5 and Ms. Half Day, I echoed back with low voice. Vivi nodded, yeah, I heard they're pretty strong, even a little bit stronger than the Mr. One's pair. But for unknown reason, they couldn't be shown to the public of the Baroque works, diagram members. She confirmed as we finally arrived at our destination. I just hummed and shrugged it off, whatever. I'll just need to beat them up, right? I said and grinned at her as Takao flew up and landed on the deck. I got off of Takao and walked toward the railings beside Luffy as the two idiots were arguing at which one is the bigger dinosaur. How long are you going to fight? We can't carry the whole thing anyway. Just cut the parts that we can bring and let's go. Nami said. Yes, Nami Swan. Don't you think I'm winning, Usopp? I don't want to decide. Can't you call it a draw? There's no draw in competition. XXX. If we are heading straight, we can go out of the West Sea. Nami said. Can't we bring more meat? Both Luffy and me exclaimed in sync. Don't be silly, we can't take any more meat. Are you two trying to sink the ship? Nami scolded us. Hey, those are giant Osins, Luffy pointed out as we were getting closer to the West Sea. They're coming to send us. Usopp said. We were watching at them as they were talking things, like telling something to let us through or whatever. You have protected our honor with your lives. Dory-san started, so, no matter what will come, Bragi-san continued. We won't let anything happen to your flag. Dory-san said. Trust in us, no matter what happened, we want you to keep heading straight. Bragi-san said. We got it. Both Luffy and me replied in sync, we will head straight. We shall meet again, someday. Right, we were in the West Sea, we saw something really incredible. It's a giant goldfish. Keep heading straight. I shouted at the others were started to panic. And it's the giant goldfish that Usopp kept telling in his tall tales. Yeah, no. I added and grinned before took a picture of it. Hurry up and change course or we'll be eaten. Nami exclaimed, hurry up, Usopp. No. Usopp replied, we will head straight. Isn't that right, Luffy? He asked back. Yep, absolutely. Luffy replied with confidence. And right what Nami said, we were heading straight to the fish's stomach, like about how we got eaten by Laboon back then. Don't be silly. This is different from Laboon. Nami yelled. We know. Why don't you stay calm? Here, I'll give you the last piece of senbei I saved up. I told her as I showed her the said last senbei. I don't care about that. Why don't we change the ship's course first? Nami, I think you'd better give up. Zoro said. Luffy, are you sure that we can trust those giants? Sanji-san asked. Yep, Luffy replied. And right, we were got eaten whole by the giant goldfish. Isn't this exciting? I exclaimed loudly, which was earning a punch in the head by Nami cause of my carefree nature. I just cursed softly as the area was so really dark that I even could see my own hands. For who knows how long while the other Strafuts were panicking and stuffs, I felt something like an impact coming straight at us, even though we're in the stomach of a fish right now. And I quickly grabbed the railings and hugged it for my dear life as the impact reached our ship and blasted our ship, and also making holes to both sides of the fish so we eventually got blasted off straight ahead. Don't look back, we're going forward only, I exclaimed with big smile. Great, this is so great, Luffy said with big grin. They can cut even the ocean. This is the power of Elbaf's warriors. Usopp cried out, they're the best.